the Village of Dansville in order. Everyone please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I do have some mayor's correspondence and comments to share with you. Jim Bass, I'll spell the last name B-A-A-S-E, Empire Access. He was going to be at the July 21st meeting to present a proposal, and the subject is fiber optic communication services. There is a comment here about Bruce Bach. He did the survey for the in the village for the floodplain. It says here, provide recommendation on pushing FEMA to revise floodplain levels. Bruce isn't here, so I assume that's probably relative to the next regular meeting.
That's
and
correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, if you have some additional information, any department heads or anybody, chime right in, okay? Thank you. Just a reminder, we know next Tuesday, July 14th, we're all going to be at the GCC auditorium, 6 p.m. for the public information hearing. We're going to be covering purchasing procedures, equipment purchases for the last 4 years, and information relative to the reasons for the water and sewer rate increase. MRB Group has been putting together a PowerPoint presentation, but the presentation will be primarily made by Mayor Bo.
What's the date on that again?
That would be July 14th. That'd be next Tuesday. I would probably suggest, and I'm sure that the mayor will send out a notification. It says here start time is 6 o'clock. I would be there probably around 5:30. It would make sense to me. He has spoken with Scott, and Scott's going to chime in here in a second about discussing the purchase of a digital projector for this presentation and also future public hearings. Scott, do you have any information on that?
Well, I guess I'll put together a PowerPoint on the equipment that we purchased.
Right.
So people can see it. We could probably use MRVs at this point, but I would suggest that we have our own. We don't own anything. Screen, projector, and I don't even know what they cost me. I haven't looked into it.
Okay.
If they're not out of this world, I'll probably just go ahead and pick one up so we have it. That way if we want to do something in here, we can in the future.
I think they have a screen down there at that school probably, and in here if we could probably
We
put
could
a screen
probably
up, we could probably go right off the wall.
Yeah, we could just get a projector, something, I don't think they're that expensive. Just, it's out of, dollars and dollars. We'll borrow one at school like this. But it'd be nice to have one here.
Can you find it? I'm sorry, go ahead.
They did a presentation the other day, remember, in the auditorium, Department of Labor, and he had problems with his. It would have been nice to pull one out of the closet and say, here you go, plug it in and go. Kind of embarrassing actually that we don't have one. But yes, I can get the cost. I can just email it to you guys
Okay.
if you want. What's your yay or nay on it, I guess?
Do I just set a limit on it? Say as long as it's not over like say $500 and
$750. I mean,
Definitely.
75.
I don't have any idea what is a normal or typical price.
I think
400.
How much a projector costs?
Do you have one down to the ambulance garage?
We have one at the counties, and the bulb is shot in it. The bulb is almost as much as the projector itself. You can get an Epson for someplace around $400. I know Snowmobile Club guy purchased one. I don't remember who it was through, but it's an Epson. There's a huge price range on these things.
Yeah.
So, but you can pick up something decent for around $400.
Yeah, an Epson right here for $399 at Best Buy.
There you go.
Well, we want to make sure that it meets our needs also.
There's an LG for $549.
Well,
Pardon?
how much are we
An
going to
LG.
use it?
Well, that's just it. I mean,
installs. Yeah.
what are you going to use it? I mean, we haven't. When was the last time we needed one other than to pull one out for something, or
399 is probably plenty, huh?
especially if we take care of it, put it back in the box, we're done, and it sits there. I can use it enough to.
But it's nice if you want to,
Yeah.
take some pictures and show it. You try to hand around the cell phone to everybody, say, here, look at this little picture, and it's kind of.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a line item under office supplies under the clerk, or for anything administrative that I could take those funds from, just for a heads up. So we'd have to find somewhere else in the budget.
I take it out of my budget.
Is there a training budget or anything? And
There is a training budget, but that all of those funds are for specific needs for this year. I cut all of my line items so that it's just exactly what we planned for.
Well, I'm thinking,
well, should we at this point just borrow one for the night and then?
right, that was my suggestion. Let's let Scott do some digging into this, come back with some figures and what we're buying at different price levels and what's going to meet our needs. But in the interim, for the public hearing, public information, let's borrow one.
Okay.
I agree.
How does everybody feel with that?
I agree.
Let's make sure that we get it in sufficient time to try it and make sure it's operational and functional. And
If not, if you can't find one, let me know. I think the county might even have one. We can borrow.
There you go. Yeah, fire department has one.
Like a grant.
So I guess we're not going to buy one.
Well,
Call Greg.
We actually do most of our stuff now is on TV, so I mean, a lot of places now it's all TV.
yeah, because the computer
TV, and
plug into TV is how we do it.
yeah,
but it's kind of hard to do when you got 200 people, a lot of people there.
And I know they've got a big screen down there because when they did the big thing on the school merger, and they had it down there, they had a big screen up and they were showing people things. So
Call Greg.
okay. Everybody all set with that? Okay, good. Thank you. The mayor did want me to express his appreciation to all the department heads in his absence. He knows that there's been a lot of outside of normal business matters to take care of over the course of the last month, and he certainly appreciates all the effort that you put into it. He wanted me to convey that to you, and he couldn't be here personally to do that. And I'm sure when he comes back, he'll say something to you, but as you know, there's a lot of requests, a variety of requests that come our way, and at least he conveyed to me that everybody stepped up and pretty much responded to what the needs are, so he appreciates that. Legislative. Any update, Scott, on the Remax property on Red Jacket and the boundary issue there?
No, I haven't heard anything on it at all.
Okay.
I believe the way Pete would discuss it is pretty much in the attorney's hands. It's just basically an easement.
Yeah. Okay. Park Tree Garden Committee.
is that still in the legislative or is that moving on?
Well, he's got it under legislative. It really,
Because I had a lot of things. I was
we'll
talking
consider
about.
it part of legislative, but it really isn't. So, where does that stand?
I put it on Facebook to contact the mayor and the village clerk, and I know that there was about 10 people that replied that they were going to get in contact with him because we put it in the paper, and there wasn't a big turnout. There was one person that said that they'd get on that committee,
Right.
and I put it, so I went onto Facebook and put it on the Dansville community page because there's a lot of people that are talking about they wanted to get involved and clean up parks, and there was probably 8 to 10 people that said that they were going to come in. I said needed to see the village clerk and the mayor and express your interest. And has anyone been
I
in?
haven't had anyone come in or call.
Who would have thunk? Just guess they were just keyboard junkies that just wanted to bash the village more. There's a lot of those out there.
I guess, Dan, what would you like to do move forward? Do you want to advertise it again? Do you want to... right now, according to my information, the only person that's come forward has been Mike Blum. And he's actually the one that kind of put out the idea and said, you know, let's see what we can come up with as far as a park committee. So right now,
I think that
he's the only volunteer that's come forward. You want to try Facebook one more time?
I can, but
What did we do with the planners? Did we do anything with the planners?
Yeah, the planners, it was put out. There's been a couple of people that I've given planners to. Trudy Van Dermees, that wasn't being taken care of. Kim Van Dunk came to me and asked me if she could use that one. I said absolutely. But if you go up through there, I was up and down. I got them right here. I was up and down through there today. The problem is, and I was talking with the chief, what some people consider plants, I don't. If you drive around the village, I see people watering what I would hit with a weed whacker. Mm-hmm. So what some people put up there is not what I would consider a plant.
The only thing is maintaining it. You know, if they just.
I think you should go up there and fill them with concrete because I think that they're an eyesore. You get a handful of ones in the main business district that look beautiful, and once you get out of the main business district, they don't. I think we have too many planners. We have about 30 people that want to really take care of the planners, and we got about 60 planners. So.
Well, it comes down to when you have stuff like that, it's a great idea, and once the monotony
long
wears
term,
off, somebody's got to maintain that.
The trees look horrible, the moss looks horrible, the weeds are horrible. I agree. I'm not going to walk up and down Main Street and pull weeds. I can guarantee you that one. I'm still doing it down in front of my own house. I think that the planners are a great idea, but the problem is we don't live in as much of a working community as we did in the past. And it's hard enough to get someone to go out and yank a weed, chief, you keep an eye on it, around their own house, let alone trying to find someone. I know that we'll just use an organization that I'm familiar with because my mother was part of Beta Sigma Phi, and they had a couple of planners. My mother had back surgery, and she went and I know this because she went back to them, and there wasn't anyone that really wanted to come up and do them. My mother's like, I just had back surgery. I can't go up and take care of them. So we are in an aging community, it's a community where...
Last year, the Moose girl was, I forgot what her name, Diane?
Yep, Diane Moose.
Yeah, she was handling that.
So,
in fact, there's a tree up there that's dead. It's been dead for a year.
Yeah, if you walk up through there, you can even just bypass the planters and look at where the trees are. They got the metal grates that are full of weeds and cigarette butts and everything. I think that the whole thing needs a real big makeover. I do like the one area where we have the planted, the pots are out there. They look nice, and there are some people that are taking care of their planters. But I'm telling you right now, some of those planters, I pointed one out to the chief as we were walking one day, I didn't know if it's weeds or plants.
So what are you proposing?
I'm not proposing anything. I'd love to see what it would cost to fill them in, but then again, that's just my
thoughts. What are you proposing? I mean, as far as okay, we can talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the committee itself.
The committee.
Right now, you got
point.
one volunteer. Do you want to proceed with the committee? Do you just want to kind of let it lay dormant right now? Word of mouth, or I mean, that's where we're at.
I can go back onto the community page and put out there that no one. And, everyone wants to help, but no one has contacted the mayor's office or the village clerk's office, to put their name down, to become a part of this Parks and Recs committee. But I already did it once, and everyone jumped on it. I can show you where people were jumping on it and say, "Hey, that's great. I'll get in contact with them." And yet there's no contact.
Why don't you put it out there and see if they won't contact you, Dan? Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, they can contact me.
Yeah, put yourself out there as at least one of the contact people. Besides Megan, the mayor. I don't think it'd be a difference, but Charlie.
I was thinking too, maybe what if we add the Main Street Business District into that park mindset? That it just doesn't involve Elm Street, Babcock, William Street, Washington Street, the Little League Field is a part of the Village Park, but maybe we also include the Main Street Business District into that park mindset because it does have so many planters and it does have so many trees and such. I'm not saying that would generate anything, but I've always kind of thought of Main Street as a park with services around it. In some aspects, Main Street Business District had more flowers and trees than some parks do. I'm not sure if
We
that
could
would
try
generate-
that.
But we don't have a full-time person down there who's weeding the Main Street planters. We include it in that.
That's right.
But yet our village crew isn't out pulling weeds up and down Main Street, but they will weed whack down along Babcock Park. So if it is one, then are we addressing it the proper way?
Well, I think I don't know if that would generate anybody else's interest in trying to help out one of this whole bigger picture of parks in general. I know my personal interest is on Main Street.
Well, we could add that too.
But I know that some of the complaints I've heard is they go up there and the people who have put time and effort into there are pulling cigarette butts out of these planters and stuff, and they're like, that's not what people want to do. They want to go up there, and if they put some plants in, if they come back to pull weeds, they don't want to pull cigarette butts. So people real quickly go, I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
I was up there Sunday, and I picked up papers, I picked up cigarette butts, that's part of the job, I mean, you plant it. It's up to you to maintain it.
Well, I can see Dan's point. At what point in time do you maintain it and you keep progressively pulling these trash and stuff out of it because you have ignorant people throwing their crap into your flower beds.
Well,
and then at what point in time do you, and then that's what I'm saying, at what point in time do those, I know I would, I'd say, I'm done.
It ain't my property. The people are just going, you know what? And you can see
Somebody else can take
the
care of it.
businesses, one with businesses seem to be taking care of it because it's their business, in front of the business. But the one with individuals seem not to be the ones that are being taken care of.
Well, this was part of going to be my talk today is the fact of the trees over here in front of the 5 and 10 there, them berries that are on the street. Do we have anybody doing community service, John?
We do, and they're pulling weeds right now and sweeping curbs.
I'd like to see them with a broom brooming off the sidewalk.
Or
But there
are
wasn't-
berry trees really the right things to have? They're going to make a mess.
Okay,
Not
well-
really, but
This is a great conversation.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
What we want to discuss is the composition of the committee.
There is not a committee right now because
Okay.
you got one guy.
So I guess my
We can't beg people
question to you is, Trustee Rittenhouse, would you put it on Facebook
Absolutely.
one more time?
Yes, I will.
And let's give it a let's give it a due date. Anybody interested, contact either Megan or the mayor. If you want to add your name, that's
I'll add
fine.
my
If you
name in
don't, and let's give them until the next regular meeting.
Let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. What do you plan on doing with this committee?
Well, I'm sure
Because
that
I sat there when they were talking about the committee, and I thought, well, the committee's great, but what's the committee going to do? Is that committee going to be a working committee? Because what you need is workers and people. And even if we get 5 people, they're not going to be 5 people that are going to be willing to go up and sit on their knees and pull weeds and handle things up there on Main Street.
I don't think necessarily there'll be a working committee. They'll be part of a working committee, but you put together probably a plan to address whatever issues there are out in the park with the Main Street area, and try to bring members of the community together, say on a work day, work half day or something, to actually accomplish the work.
Okay.
That would be my approach. Kind of like when they used to have, they had people come together and go along the major highways and pick up. I don't know if they still do
There were
that or
always like
not.
Lions clubs or
Well,
whatever.
you got service organizations, and you know as well as I do
Sure.
that you can't even get them to come out and help.
Not
When
anymore,
you
yeah.
announce
Yeah,
that,
I know. You
4 or 5
make a
people
good point.
out of an organization of 100 and some guys.
Times are changing.
Yeah, how about the prisoners? Could we get them to do this?
No, we'll have another escape. And
No.
we'll the news.
The problem is, and you can certainly, they write a letter to the sheriff would approve it, and then you get on their work schedule, but the problem is the work crews are smaller than they ever used to be. Laws being what they are. Our work crew, when I ran the work crew 16 years ago, I'd run with 12 to 14 guys in a crew. The day crew now has about 3 to 4 guys.
The cemeteries, a lot of cemeteries have gone bankrupt and
And that's-
are looking for that help now.
And so the cemeteries get first dibs, probably.
No, they try to spread them around to give everyone a little bit of help. They have their certain things they do all year long, but they try to spread it around. But 3 to 4 guys doesn't get as much done as 12 guys. Like if we had a 12-man crew, you come up here on a Sunday, Main Street can be taken care of. They can pull what someone would believe to be weeds, and they can be taken care of. But with 3 guys, you might get a half of it done. But they don't have the number of days because they got to move on. So I mean, it's tougher than it used to be.
Yeah, I agree.
And times are changing, and people don't. That we're turning into the era of people are not out and about the way they used to be. People are taking care of their own and staying
It's so
home.
hard to take care of your own that's all the energy you have.
Well, years ago, when one person in the household was working, maybe on a weekend a woman would want to be in a gardening club or in something like that. But now you have more and more people where either we're in an elderly community or a retirement community, or both parents are working 2 jobs sometimes, and they just don't have the time. And when they're not working, they want to spend some time to home, or they got to pull their own weeds. They got to pull their own stuff. So, I mean, I think the planters on Main Street are a great idea. I just think that at this point, for what we have, there's too many.
Well, maybe that's part of the
Solution.
response. The committee is do an assessment of
Yeah.
what we currently have and where that fits as we move into the future.
Decide what ones to eliminate.
I know last year
You know.
there was a deal with the gal that runs the Sugar Bowl over here. She wanted a spot. The Lions Club had the one right next to the Sugar Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Lions Club went over there and planted their flowers, and so we talked her into going across the street for this year or for last year, with the option that this year maybe we could swap it around and bring it back over. Evidently, it didn't happen. So.
And there's small things being done. I mean, like the post office being done tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've got my guy doing that tomorrow. So, he did some down near the alley today. He's going to do the post office tomorrow.
I mean, the other reason, last year you probably had quite a bit of time to be able to, during the daytime, to meet with these people or whatever.
I called him.
And it's tough for me because I'm working sometimes 60 to 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
With,
Well,
And they have a business association.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And that's the way it is.
So I'll swap you code enforcement for planners.
No, I'm fine. I'm good.
Okay.
Maybe part of the approach, since it's in the
In
Main
the
Street.
6-pack?
No, I'm good. Yeah. Yeah, we wanted to split it up, so I'm good with it where I'm at.
One of the approaches would be to go to the chamber and ask the chamber, their thoughts on it. I mean, it's pretty much the Main Street area, which is their area.
We have a business association too, and they don't even get along with each other. I remember
I
it used to be the day when I worked at a business in Main Street. It sounds like it's like 80 years ago now, but you had to go out there and sweep all that stuff up. So if you had berries out on the sidewalk,
Yeah,
you
doesn't
just
berries
swept
count
them
like
off.
snow?
What?
Don't berries count
I
like
mean, because I started down at the
You
other
gotta
end,
clean your own
and I looked
snow.
at some of
Clean
these,
your own
and
berries
some are
on your
question
sidewalk.
marks as whether they're plants or whether they're weeds. I
Okay,
don't put a little-
we're getting off.
Yeah.
We've discussed this for quite a while now. Trustee Rittenhouse, if you're willing to do this,
Yep, I will put it back on there and try to have them inbox
Yep.
me and get their numbers.
And depending on what level of response you get back, part of what the committee may address would be what we ought to be doing, and maybe check with the chamber and see what their thoughts are on Main Street. I mean, that's their front yard. Let's hear from them.
Well, we tried to talk about selling Main Street, selling our community. If we don't get behind our community,
Yeah.
we ain't selling it to nobody.
Yeah.
And there is no doubt, I do spend a lot of time up there. Just recently, a Saturday morning, I had 5 minutes with a couple that left Connecticut on their way to Niagara Falls, the long way via Arizona. And they hit several communities on the way back, and they were quite impressed with the volunteer effort on Main Street, how good our Main Street looked, and so on and so forth, even though we've lost some buildings. So, sometimes outside eyes have a whole different view of what maybe we're
True.
really overly focused on.
Yeah.
So, and that's not the first couple. I mean, it's pretty much every weekend I run into somebody who's either coming out of Java or coming out of the Sugar Bowl or at that hour of the morning, and very positive comments on the appearance of the community, believe it or not.
That's good. That's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Are we all set?
Get less so we can,
Okay, we're going to move on to the next committee, which is the Water and Sewer Law Revision Committee. So far, there's been no community volunteers that have come forward. The committee right now consists of Scott, Karen, Matt Williams, and Robin. Peace comments are, do you want to proceed with the committee as it stands right now, or we could go out and advertise it one more time? And I suppose if we go out and advertise that committee one more time, we could add, the park committee to that also and include both of them.
Yeah.
So, what would the trustees like to do? What would you like to do, Robin?
It would be a good idea to merge them together. I can't see spending a lot of money on advertising in print. I don't know what it cost, Megan, when you did the last one. I mean, how many times did we run it?
We ran it once, and we dropped that budget this year also,
So-
the advertisement budget. I can try to put both of these items on our village Facebook page. Jess just got me set up so that I'm
Okay.
an administrator on it also.
Sure.
So I can pop
Is it
both
village
of those
Facebook
on
page?
there if you want to try that first.
Yeah,
Let's give that a try.
Let's try that. I just told Dan I can do it with the water and
Is
sewer
it called
too.
Village of Dansville?
We can, I'll do something
What's
on the
that?
radio
What's the
station, put it on our
Facebook
webpage
Village
too.
of Dansville.
Okay, that'd be great.
So,
On our
I don't do
Facebook
Facebook
page.
anyway, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like we got a lot of good ways to get it out there.
How long has
That's
that
what I just
Facebook
said.
page
Well,
been up?
I'll do something.
Less
as far
than
as
a
like
year.
that goes.
It's been up a year, and there's only 152 people who've liked it out of our community of
out
5,500.
of 4,700.
4,700.
Just within the village, not counting the town. So we're
I'm
not.
glad I can see
scoring.
that.
Yeah, I
Sarah.
mean, Jess has been the only one running it up until this point, so that doesn't give the office a lot of time to promote it.
I will
So I
promote
just, now that I'm signed up, you can be an administrator if you want.
No, I don't need to be. I can post on it for mine. But I didn't know. I never even knew we had one. I mean, that's how much it gets out there. But I
Yeah.
believe me, I'll
I
start
didn't
pushing it.
I thought 150 was good.
I made a post last night. There's almost 300 likes on it. So I think that I'll start pushing because I can get people to have them go there to voice their concerns. Sometimes we don't hear all their concerns, but
Well, let's put it out there, make an assessment at the regular meeting, and see where we're at. How that sounds.
I will send an email on everything because I won't be at that one, but I will let you know what I've come up with between now and then. I will talk with it, see if I can get a hold of somebody with the chamber,
Right.
see if I can get a meeting with them. Is Bill Bacon still in charge of the chamber? He was, or is he not
I'm not
anymore?
sure.
That's-
I'll get a hold of Bill
Okay.
and see what they want to do and who is in charge of our Main Street.
I don't think there really is one.
There isn't a.
Because I know that Mr.
anymore,
Seiler
I don't
always
think.
was in charge of
Right.
it and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's
since
kind
then
of fizzled now,
he
like,
stepped down
fight
a
with each
couple
other.
years before he passed away, and then nobody else stepped up.
Right, yeah. Jennifer,
Tomachow.
no,
Howard?
Howard was at one time, but I don't think.
Maybe I'll talk with Jen now and see if she wants to try to get one fired back up because she likes to.
Okay. All set? Good. Next thing is ads for the meeting that's being held on July 14th.
I thought that was the 28th.
No, July 14th. The 28th is another meeting.
Oh,
There's
Yeah.
one next Tuesday I have down.
Yeah, next
Yeah.
Tuesday is the informational meeting, then the hearing, I think, is the 28th.
it's 6 o'clock.
But they'll come out at the next regular meeting, or come out at the July 14th meeting. I don't have that actual date, but the 28th was mentioned.
Yes, as I have them both in my
Yep.
phone.
The mayor wanted me just to make sure that the ads are out, and I spoke with Megan. We're all set there. and he wanted me to ask Robin to do a public service announcement on the radio to get the word out there. And also, if you can put something on the website about it.
Yep, we've done the website, Facebook, we've contacted the radio station, so they are going to, Robin's going to.
We have
Oh, okay.
a community page on the
Mention,
website, so I'll put that on there. On a calendar.
The information's out there.
So we put, for the first meeting, we missed the deadline for the Express, so that's going to go into the Penny Saver on Sunday, which only gives people a couple days notice as far as that's concerned. The second meeting is going into the Express as well as the Penny Saver.
Okay.
So
It'll be out there.
The public hearing, so we're pushing it.
Good. Good.
And the ads are in the board folders, so you can reference them.
Just a couple other things here. On the housing rehab grant, we need to set a public hearing. It's a state requirement. About halfway through, you got to have an admin public hearing, pretty much bring the public up to date on how the grant's been managed and also where the money's gone. The recommendation is to do it at the beginning of our July regular meeting. And if we're all in agreement, Megan will put a legal ad for this Friday.
That's 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it'll be 7 o'clock. You know, I was thinking maybe we do something before the regular meeting, but my notes indicate that he wants to do it at the beginning of the July regular meeting.
All right, with me.
Yeah. I wouldn't think it'll take very long. You know, we've had the recipients of the grant, and it'll just probably be some financials, and that'll be it. And then respond to any questions that may come up. I doubt it'd take long. All set with that, Meg?
Yep.
Megan, thank you. The other thing is we need to think about holding a public hearing on the new Time Warner franchise. Everybody should have received some information relative to that. I have read through this. It's a 15-year agreement, but the requirement is we have it has to be advertised 2 consecutive weeks before the actual hearing. What we don't know is what's the deadline. So Megan's going to call their local franchise director, find out what the deadline is, and then that will guide us as far as when we actually have the hearing. So we're pretty much set on that. Once we set up for the hearing, you just want to make sure that you read through the packet of information. Any questions on that? Okay, public safety. Trustee Wayne.
Okay. Guess we'll start off with Tammy.
You have my reports. Here's more. This is that running violation list you guys wanted me to continue on.
It's not getting smaller.
No, it's growing. It started at 1 page. It's now up to 4 pages. That's, the
Yep,
peak.
thank you.
And also, you all asked me to give you input on some zoning changes in regards to our current village zoning law, fences and dogs. I made suggestions in writing, but I would also suggest that you guys each put your own suggestions in and also ask the village planning board and village zoning board, since they're the ones that have to see this stuff too, what they think of it. The first page is what we currently have in our zoning law on that stuff. The second page is what I think would be modifications. We left one up there.
Thank you.
And And in red is, when you flip to the second page, everything is in red is my thoughts after looking at 15 other villages and townships, talking to the Department of Ag and Markets for animal control, and what I've seen in 7.5 years here. And one little thing on Robin's law on invisible fences in front yards. So, if you, as always, if you guys look over that in the course of the next month, ask me questions, call my office. I'm not available tomorrow. I'm doing computer training. I'll be there with my clerk, but the phone won't answer, so we have to be on speakerphone, and the door will be locked. On the violation list, I have a few things I'm in process with John Vogel on, and he couldn't get back to me on updates, so they're kind of open-ended, still the same from last month. But John and I are working diligently to try to get people to just open their eyes and come into compliance instead of having to drag them before one of our judges and go through all that process. Baby steps.
While you're looking that over, I do have some comments that the mayor has provided me with regarding dogs specifically. He suggests, and we've already discussed this to some degree, that restricting the number of litters to 1 per year and prohibit breeding. We had talked about that at last meeting, but it seems like he thinks that's at least something we ought to consider in writing into the law.
Keep in mind that stuff's going to be hard to enforce, but maybe at least if we have it there, we can catch the ones that
Right.
are we can have the law to catch the ones that are blatantly abusing the hell out of the system.
Pretty much those are his words also. Yep.
We have nothing in our about cats in our current law. One of my thoughts, and one of the things I read in half of all the towns and villages I read of theirs, they include cats. The equivalent is dogs. And we all know we have a wild cat problem from hell in this town.
Charlie, did you get a copy of this?
Yes,
Okay.
I gave Charlie and Megan all a copy of it.
Okay, good. The other comment, and I'm just adding some comments, we kind of address this here, is to come up with a definition of what would and wouldn't be a proper fence in the village. And we've talked about that, and you've got a good start there. Just kind of briefly taking a look at it. So
I read what we have a definition. It's very open-ended, so I took what other communities had as a definition and what I know I've seen are problems and tried to mush them together, but not be a total ass about being restrictive.
Right.
There are some communities I read that they come out and measure the fence, and the ratio of open space to fence material must be a specific ratio. I don't think we need to go there.
okay.
Well, the thing of it is, if we set up standards that we should be abiding by, who's gonna be out there doing it? Who's gonna be up? But Tammy, you're the
And
code enforcement.
and we're overloaded already. Yes.
You're the code enforcement officer.
Mhm.
That's what I'm telling you. You don't have to vote to Charlie.
No, I'm saying both of us,
You know,
Charlie and I
if there-
both
if there is
enforce
a
zoning
need,
law. Both of us enforce zoning law.
But it's up to you to.
And
do
you
the job.
obviously don't think I am right now. I'm very sorry for that.
No, I don't think that. But I'd like to see a little more effort into it.
Okay, please come
Okay.
spend a day with me in my office.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. So, anything else?
Everybody's invited to come spend a day with me, please. Please.
I'm good.
You kind of already did, and he kind of already has, and he kind of already has, and the mayor already kind of has too.
So you're saying you're inviting Trustee White next to come spend the day?
Must be, yeah.
Just wanted to throw that one out there to you.
I've been there a few times, but must be not spent long enough with there, so, okay.
The mayor did comment that he recognizes that most complaints will probably come in from people such as neighbors that have observed the infraction.
Well, they just
Versus
Well, they just have a
the-
main problem, like they have a problem with their neighbor.
Right.
And they call up and they go, this is getting out of control. And that's when you go down and you can apply that law then
Yes.
to them to
Yes.
say, this isn't proper. So it's not like you're going to be driving around looking for them. It's just something on the book so that when that call does come in, like,
When that
my
really
lord, the dogs
stupid
don't
person
stop, or the
tries to do
smell, or the
something.
fence looks a certain way, you can go down and say, sorry, you're in violation of this, and you can issue the notice, they can correct it, or they can pay the fine.
Yeah.
You know, I
Not
mean,
checking for
it-
litters.
Yeah, you're not going to be driving around looking for litters.
Right.
But when the call does come in,
No husband says, no, that's my wife's kid, that's my step. Oh, that's different.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
But
you're not.
I recognize it,
you're
but
not
it is
observing that.
very much good to have there in case there is a problem.
Know that, no, we don't have a human being that can drive around looking for just this. But if right now we don't have the law on the books and we have 2 or 3 cases that are getting out of control, and so obviously if that's and that seems to be that's the pattern of the village of Dansville and the population of the village of Dansville, we need to get it out there so we can at least try to grab the blatantly stupid.
When the calls come in.
And then when we,
And I like how you started with yeah, no, but yeah.
I felt like the RC Victor Dog.
Yeah, no, but
But that was like the invisible fencing, how do you enforce that? Well, I mean, whoever does it anymore, I don't know, comes out and actually does dog licensing. He has their dog license and they go to Tim and Tim can, here's the laws.
Here's
you
the
know
law
about
on
them,
the invisible fence, yeah.
9 times out of
We
10,
can put it
the
on the
problem you're
webpage,
going to
on
have, the only
Facebook.
time you're going to be able to enforce it is when
It's when
somebody
the dog
gets,
runs through it.
and gets
And then we
bitten or
know,
whatever,
and then we
covers,
have the
yeah.
law and say, hey, that's a no-no.
and he says, well, I didn't know about it. Well,
Then you're stupid. You shouldn't buy
Dude, we
property in
can't
a
say
community
that.
that you don't know about those community
We
laws.
can't really
that's
go
what it's
that
all
far.
about.
Let's back that one up a couple steps.
Yeah.
Can't really
Yeah.
say, well, then you're stupid. Let's just kind of throw that down as like, hey, we'll just try to re-educate.
Buy
Yeah,
property
you
in a
need to be
community
educated.
that you don't know the laws of that
But the
community.
thing of it is, Tammy, and I'll just address this, is the fact that people buy property and they don't look at any laws that
Buyer beware.
well,
Buyer
That's why
beware.
we need to change. That's like with the strategic plan and everything else. Is time things get steered
Yeah.
in the right direction. So for the
Exactly.
last how many
And we're-
years it's just been.
And you're not going to upright the ship overnight. I keep telling people this is a marathon, it's not a sprint, but we should be jogging quickly. But I mean, we're working in the right direction.
Nice
job.
we've been jogging for 4 or 5 years now.
Got to get off the treadmill and hit the road.
Yeah, exactly.
You've been telling me this is going to be a physical thing.
We're good.
Okay. Comments relative to the discussion we had when we last met on the poultry livestock issues. Comments from the mayor. He did speak with Angela Ellis at the county planning office. Issues include noise and smell, containment, disposal of fecal matter, and there's probably some other issues relative to poultry and livestock.
Not to mention our zoning law already under definition of farm already says in our zoning law since 1971, but not including livestock, poultry, or dairy products. It's already there.
Yeah.
It says already since 1971 in our zoning law, nowhere in the village of Dansville can you have livestock, poultry, or dairy products. So,
Wasn't it a year or so ago that we had a flock of chickens up on the top of Moriac?
yes.
Yeah.
And both Charlie and I talked to them, gave them copies of the law. Apparently,
Did it-
they
did it
had
do any good?
chicken and duck in the freezer very immediately right after. They got rid of all of them.
Well, the mayor's opinion is we need to enforce the current law.
Yeah,
Before you're done with,
that's what I've been saying
Yeah.
for a long time.
So-
We need to enforce it. We don't need to say, when you can, we need to enforce it.
Well, when you start making exceptions, where do you end?
Yeah,
So again, I think that goes back to the fact that we're not asking someone to go out and drive around and look for it, but if a complaint comes in, you address the law. Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
right.
Correct.
And
So if
the
you're
mayor, the mayor knew of two
If a complaint
issues, and he
comes in.
said he was going to take care of them himself, personally with those two people, in a public meeting, but I don't think he has. In the department head meeting, he said he had not.
I think he's probably made more progress with one of those two people versus both of them.
Okay.
But, I mean, is everybody here pretty much in agreement? I'm sure you've given it some thought that our approach is to enforce the current law.
If we get a complaint, I always say, you get a complaint, you enforce the law. There's a big difference between discretion and complaints.
Right.
Huge difference. If a police officer stops someone for driving 35 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, his discretion is to write a ticket, give him a verbal warning and send him out, or give him the verbal warning and send him on the way. But if you get a traffic complaint and you have a victim, your discretion is very limited because there's a victim of something that has
You
occurred.
expect some type
And
of
that's what I
action.
would expect in something like this. If you have a complaint, you have to address it. But again, and the rest of it, you get to use your discretion if you don't have a complaint. I mean, that's how
Yeah.
I,
That's- I feel the same way.
unless there's safety involved, and that's where,
And
like,
that's
with
how it's being handled.
ambulance
That's-
and
that's
police
why
officers,
people
where
need
there's
to talk to.
safety involved, then it's a whole lot different. Unless a goat's going to fall out of the sky or a chicken's going to land on someone's head, I don't think there's safety with it unless we get a complaint and then address it according to the law.
That's why tickets have not been issued. That's why we're trying to just deal with it by speaking to
Down the
people.
street saying the sky's falling.
Tammy, you want to comment briefly on Shanks Enterprises?
Did you get a copy of the letter too?
Yep.
Yeah, what is that?
Y'all got, okay. Well, okay, wait, you all got the copy of the letter back from Shank, or did you get the copy of the letter from the attorney?
It's
I just-
signed by Lee Shanks.
Okay, so you don't have a copy of the letter we sent from the attorney. I can give you that for the next meeting. I have it in my office. For 2 years, I've asked Shanks very nicely with about a dozen letters and phone calls. Please fill out the free to you with no fee form. Provide us with this information or you don't haul in our village, per our local law from 2012. And he keeps telling me, well, I'm not hauling in your village, so I don't have to abide by your laws. So I went and took pictures of his dumpster behind 134 Main, behind Leaning Tower, and his totes at the credit union. And I sent him another letter with the pictures and said, obviously you are, so you must do this. And he sent me a letter back saying, no, I don't have to. So I took it to Mr. Vogel, and Mr. Vogel sent him a letter saying, you either fill out this form that's attached and give us the information, because here are the photos saying that you do have stuff in our town, or we will take not only civil but criminal action against you. So he sent us back a letter dated July 1st saying he effectively, immediately is no longer going to work in the village of Dansville because he does not want to come into compliance with our law and fill out a half-a-page form that costs him nothing to be a hauler in Dansville. So I went out today and took a picture of the Shanks dumpster behind Leaning Tower, the Shanks dumpster behind 134 Main Street, and the Shanks totes at the credit union. He says he's going to be out of here July 1st, and it's July 8th, and he's still here. So I was going to suggest another letter from the village attorney.
Why would we pay the village attorney?
Yeah.
Why have we done that enough? Why spend more money?
Okay, so
Send him a-
just appearance ticket.
Call the boneyard up and then have them come get the dumpster.
I don't think we can do that.
I don't know what the liability on that, but I think you send the fine, you send them the paperwork. You've done enough.
Oh, actually, we can't send them a fine. The fine
Or
has
you
to be
send
by
them
the
the-
judge. Appearance ticket.
Clearance ticket. Done. Move forward.
What we can do too is, we
Stop
can take a
work.
couple of those correspondence and we can take them to the businesses that he's contracted with and say,
I'm
hey,
doing that actually, yes. I'm taking both our
First
letter
issue's a
to,
violation, though.
I'm taking our letter to Shanks with a copy of the form he has to fill out, and then a letter back from him saying he's just ceasing business here.
Spent too much time on it.
And-
Too much time.
and-
Issue
We got other
violations.
And
things.
see if those 3 businesses will just anyways call Shanks and go, come get your stuff.
No, just send them.
No, you're
Let's get
done.
money out of them. Send them one every day. Every day is in violation. I mean, that's all it is.
Enough's
Fill a piece of
enough.
paper. Enough is enough. Here again,
Half a piece of paper.
Who's got the dumpster down there behind Ice Cream Island?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
it's a green one,
And
no, blue one.
greenish blue, whatever.
Well,
I looked at the other night.
It was blue the other day.
I didn't really. But either way,
well, that doesn't mean it's Shanks.
I think we.
I
say we just
no.
issue your ticket and move on.
I agree. It's
Well, I
enough
think why
time
we're
spent
having this-
on it.
I think we should also take 5 minutes to talk to the businesses because it doesn't do any good for all of a sudden Shanks to Yankees dumpster tomorrow and leave the businesses no place to put their garbage on Friday.
Yeah.
So I think we need a little bit of time here, maybe a few more days to make sure the businesses understand this is coming to an end, so they're not caught with their pants down with garbage at their back door that they don't want any place to put
Yeah.
it. And
I mean, I've already,
Well, I agree
yeah,
with that.
I've already made
but
copies
I
of
agree
the
with that
letters
100%, but I don't think
take
we keep
to each of the
sending
businesses.
correspondences
Do
and
it.
spending money to John Vogel's to, I mean, he already knows what the requirements are. If he had any plans of adhering to it, he would have done it already.
Yeah, do that first thing Friday because he's like you're busy tomorrow.
And potentially the next expense with John Vogel would be him representing the village in court prosecuting the case.
Right.
So, yeah, whatever,
Okay, and while we're talking about it,
which we always need to be prepared for
the
that.
fence that's around the dumpster over at Dollar General is smashed down. Now, I don't know who's gonna fix it, but should be somebody fixing it.
Okay, that would be Dollar General that would fix it. I'll let
Well-
them know.
You know, some of the dumpsters are fenced in, you know, if the fence is smashed down, what good is the fence?
If it's smashed down, I don't think it's any good.
Well, there's 2 sides standing right now.
Before we jump off code enforcement, I'd like to point out the very first property on the violation list. I'm hoping you all got a correspondent either from the mayor or from John Vogel saying that they spoke to the county. That property is going to go to tax auction. The sign is in front of it today. The town or the village has the option to buy it prior to tax auction.
Yep.
Is that something that will be discussed? Do you all know about it?
We know about it. Did we ever get was there something that we'll go under Scott?
$5,000.
Yeah, we're going to discuss that under Scott.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
We need to know what it
Okay,
costs.
I
Yank it
just-
down.
Yep.
We make it a nice green space.
It's on the list.
We've put a lot of money into that property already in attorney's fees and code officers' times for 2 whole code officers now, not just me, former one also. I would hate to see it go to tax auction and have to start all over again with a new person that thinks they're going to do something with it.
Is it July
And
23rd, the
doesn't.
tax auction?
I think it is. End of July. So I think
So it's
that
gonna be
decision
expensive,
has
then.
to be made
Yeah.
quickly.
Not to change gears, here while you're here, and I'm not familiar with the signage laws. The sign down at, what used to be the Bears Den or the Dansville Inn or whatever.
It's
down by the
falling
lights,
down.
It's falling down.
Yes,
Make
Charlie and
them
I've already
do
talked
something
about
with it?
that too. I'm going to make them either remove it or secure it. Yeah, in a violation letter. Each violation letter takes a minimum of 4 hours of my time. Yes. Actually, Charlie and I talked about last week.
Anything else? Thanks, Tim. Jerry, I guess you're next in line.
Yeah, right, yeah,
Greg?
to your meeting?
My meeting is next week.
Oh, okay. Well. All right.
Okay. He blew it.
All right. Let's see. The ambulance company awarded 2 scholarships again this year to 2 Dansville graduating seniors. A Ms. Snyder and a Ms. Inman each received $250 each. The scholarships go to anybody going into some sort of medical field, whether it be EMT, paramedic, nursing, anything like that. We had 3 applications this year. handed out those two there. That's one of the things that we do to give back to the community. Let's see, we had the tractor pull. In June, we had about 75 volunteer hours at that. It was very quiet. Outside the tractor pull, there was actually 2 MDAs. One very serious, one up here on 390, the patient being helicoptered out, and motorcycle versus deer later on that evening. So we did have a crew on to cover outside. Covered graduation, that was quiet. Upcoming events for us is going to be obviously the Festival of Balloons and all the football games. The youth, modified, JV, and varsity games. Covered each one of those for the home games. So,
Jerry, do you guys cover the hill climbs anymore, or is that all?
No, that's all done by whoever they hire.
Okay.
And it's usually rural metro. If things are really crazy, they may call us in to transport. And that's it. So yeah, we stay right out of that mess.
I think I saw Monroe down here.
Yeah. Usually Monroe or Metro. Whoever the promoters contract with, yeah. So that's their headache, not ours. So we're getting a new medical director. I just found out tonight. I don't recognize his name. Dr. Manish Shah is leaving, or has left, actually. So I think our new medical director may be making the rounds and meeting with the agencies and stuff. So my understanding is that he is, or used to run as a paramedic. So he has experience in the field. So, and the medical director is the guy that everybody practices under. All right, everybody's EMT card is attached to his MD license. So that's why they get a little particular on making sure protocols are followed.
That's through the county, Jerry? That's a county?
And it's Monroe, Livingston County, so it's all the agencies in Monroe County and Livingston County.
Okay.
So it's Melrose is the name of the group here. Let's see. Statusing is going to be starting soon. What is statusing? At the 911 center, they're going to have a screen up on the board. There's a computer program that we'll log into. If there is a call, they will page the closest staffed ambulance. If there is a call and Dansville does not have anybody on the board, and say maybe, strangely enough, Nunde does, they will page Dansville for first responders, Nunde for the call. If we come on the air, we don't have anybody on, but we have somebody come on the air, they will continue to page for us to get the additional driver or medic. We crew up, we take it. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Okay, if we don't have anybody on, we have the potential to lose the call because if nobody's paying attention, because you only get one page, we could lose the call. The flip side is if Nunde's having lots of issues with staffing, or another agency close by is having issues with staffing, we could actually pick up calls from that area. So it's coming soon. We've known about it for a couple of years. My understanding is maybe within a month or two that'll be happening. Our scheduling is much improved, and once I get to some of
Do we
it,
have your report?
I don't know if Scott has got the numbers yet.
I didn't see it.
Okay, he might not have the numbers yet. Keep you all in suspense on that one.
Who came up with that idea? Is that something the county came up with so they can get their
Actually-
ambulances out quick from the hospital?
Actually, Monroe County's been doing it because it's actually a program that they're using that they're gonna take. It's more and more common in a lot of areas apparently.
But-
So
Like, let's say that the county's at noise with a full crew, and the call comes in, they can automatically tone them out and away they go, right? Well, isn't that great? They make the policy and yet they get the rewards from it.
Well, you got to remember, they may not always be there. They may be committed to a transfer. They may be going out on an ALS call.
Still,
Yeah.
they're in our backyard fishing.
Yeah.
And it's funny that they write the policy, and I'm sure you guys already, they write the policy, but I can see that from up here, they write the policy that's best for them. Almost like they get paid whether we get paid or not. You know, it always seems to benefit them, and I don't ever see where the benefit is us, although that we do provide the Village of Dansville with an ambulance service.
Well, that's kind of a tough one too. The benefit is with that rig being in town, if we cannot crew up, there is an ambulance there to take care of the patient quickly, rather than the round robin. Okay, let's page Dansville 3 times. Let's page Mount Morris 3 times. Let's page Geneseo 3 times. Oh, we finally got somebody to go.
I get
45
that.
minutes later.
I get that, but I would always think that county ambulance would be a second run to our local one that we would try to get up and running and get out the door.
You know,
I mean, if they're going to page you once and nothing there, oh, quick, hey, send the county
yeah.
ambulance.
Well,
I mean,
you know, it's pretty much what happened with Springwater. Springwater was not able to crew up. I mean, their crewing rate was, they only crewed about 40-45% of the calls. Small volume, but only 40-45% of the calls. They were warned for years. They had enough. They made the point. We'll pull Springwater out of service. Geneseo's having issues right now. The college kids are gone. They have a lot of help from the colleges. They've had more out of service time than they've had in service time. The heat's off from us, I can tell you that right now.
But
the heat's off from us.
how does that
They have
go
issues.
if, let's say, Nunday doesn't have a crew? They're going to probably tone the county ambulance before they're going to tone the Dansville ambulance, because they got a full paid Livingston County crew there that needs.
We will have to see.
You know, I just don't see
Yeah.
where that's going to be an advantage
They're
to us.
not always at
Yeah.
the hospital, they roam around.
We will have to see
Right
how
around.
that works, if they actually go by, you know, if they're going to page us versus, you know, if we got a crew on, we should get the page for it.
Right.
So, and that's up to us to make sure we've got at least one person on the schedule. If there's at least one on the schedule, whether it be a driver or a medic, they'll page us normal. So, I mean, if we can't cover it, that's our fault.
They have a copy of our Greenville schedule.
They will have, it will be up to us to log onto the computer, the crew that comes on to log onto the computer and put themselves in service from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So as soon as that 6 p.m. hits, then, you know, it'll click off.
The county.
So,
Big brother wins.
yeah. But, you know, we'll see how that all works out. Like I said, it can be a benefit, it can be detrimental.
Okay.
Just depends on how we cover it. June, just some rough numbers that I pulled. We had about 103 dispatches. We dropped 6 calls in a month. That is by far the best month that we've had in probably better than 2 years. We'll have to wait and see what all the final numbers are as far as cancellations and stuff like that. And actually, I'm a little disappointed at the 6 drops because we literally dropped a call in the last hour of the month. Last hour.
Last hour of the month.
11 p.m., just after 11 p.m., we dropped a call. It's what we've been working towards, is numbers like that. Right now, I think we are at 1. One dropped. So, we are making progress.
You're doing great.
All right, main numbers, I don't think I had the incentive numbers for you. $3,382.50 is what we paid out in incentives. $817 was what you want to call idle time, where there was people paid to be on the schedule, but there were no transports. There may have been a call, may not have been transport, but 817, which I don't think is too awfully bad. Right now, I just finished up the June run sheets. I came up with $32.42 in incentive payout. So we're looking like that's probably going to be pretty good. This is probably some of the biggest checks that we'll be handing out. I think we had one that was a little over $500, and they were all covered calls. That person did not have any idle time. Those are transports that they covered. So it's been a long road, is all I can say. So we're finally starting to see the fruits of the labor.
Jerry, that 817, that was included in that 3382 figure, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the 3382. The breakdown is $1,200 for driver on call, 4 calls, a little over $500 for idle time, $1,365 for medics, about $280 idle time for a medic. So we're still going to go out and try to get a few more medics. We had 2 of the 4 that took the EMT test that passed it. So they get another shot at it. The 2 that didn't fail. One of them has a positive attitude. The other one, we got to grab him by his bootstraps and get him up and shake him off and say, come on, let's get with it. Because he aced all of his hands-on stuff, all the practical stuff. He was right on the money with it. Some people just have a hard time taking a written test. So, and actually one of our brand new EMTs is the one that will take home that big check. He's been covering calls like crazy, so he's really good. So, 2 questions I have for you guys. Last month I talked to Scott. We have a drain box out in front of the base, out on the pad. It's the concrete's flaking away really bad. There's some exposed metal there. I asked Scott if he could take a look at it, give us some suggestions and stuff. Is that I know it's on our property. Is that anything that these guys might be able to help us with getting it repaired? Concern is with possibly damaging a tire on the ambulance. Just something to think about. You don't have to answer right now. Anything that you could help us with, whether we pay some of the cost, that would be great. Just let me know at some point. And the other thing, and this ties in with the email that I got from the mayor on the
Strategic planning.
yeah, rig replacement. What are we doing? We have formed a rig replacement committee. We have not met. Just to bring the new guys up to speed.
No, we've discussed this, so we
Okay.
understand that you bought 2 at the same time.
Correct. What the initial thought was, instead of buying 2 rigs every 10 years, get them on a rotation. You really don't want to push a rig past 10 years with the experience that we've had. 8th, 9th year and so forth, they get really expensive to start repairing. We have a lot of issues in the past. The initial thought was replace the first rig at 5 years. Yeah, you're going to take a little bit of a beating on it, but that will start you with your every 5-year rotation. Every 5 years after that, you're replacing a 10-year-old rig. The billing revenue was brought about to help finance all this stuff. hopefully run yearly the ambulance operation on the village side with the funds that are coming in, and be able to take money and set it aside to eventually start replacing rigs without having to finance them. That was the intent of starting this whole building process. What you guys do with it, it's up to you. We just need to know when we can think about it. 5 years is obviously going to be in December here. At this point, it would probably, if we started looking right now, it would probably be spring of 2016 before we would be able to get anything in, if we're to move forward with anything. With that being said, also, General Motors dropped the bombshell that 2016 will be the final year of the Duramax diesel, which is what we're running in our rigs, with no replacement scheduled for it. Don't know if they're just trying to sell more chassis or what, but that might be a concern. The diesels have been good. I know they went away from the gasoline because of fire and explosion issues, that there was a rash out back in the 70s, which is when we got away from the big old 454 Chevys. So just something to think about. We just need some guidance on this. When you want to do it. If you wait too long, then you're going to be back in the boat of you're probably going to have to replace both of them in another 5 years now.
What's the mileage on it?
The mileage isn't much. What it is you start having issues with ball joints and stuff like that. I know the Fords that we had a lot of issues with front ends. They were all the time going in. Brakes are a constant issue. We're constantly, every couple of years doing.
You're gonna do
brakes
that
and
on.
rotors.
You're gonna do that on whether you're gonna do one or you gonna use one.
Yeah.
My only thing is even using your words, taking a beating on and replacing ambulance up front at the 5-year mark. And I don't think personally the village is in a position right now to take a beating on anything.
Yeah.
I think we've been beaten long
Yeah.
enough. So I would like to more do a long cycle rather than a short cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we go out to 7.5 years, 8 years, and then look into it, and then long cycle 1 or something. I just don't. My personal opinion is I think you guys do a great job, but I think the village is taking, not from the ambulance company.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take me wrong, but we seem to be in the beaten area.
Yeah.
And money's tight when we're trying to figure out how we're going to pay for a $500 projector. I'd love to know how we're going to pay for a multi-$1,000 ambulance.
Yeah. We'd pulled some figures. What was it? They don't do trade-in, but they find a buyer for it, $65,000 to $70,000, based off from what we have.
Right.
I believe was the figure, and I think we're in the 175 to 195 for the rig itself. That's replacing with identical to what we got, the same AEV, everything.
But is Chevy the way to go if they're not going to make another Duramax diesel? Would you want to look to see long term, what are you going to go to if Chevy doesn't have the Duramax? Would you want to look at that?
Yeah,
and
that's
say, hey,
the other thing.
No one wants to buy the last car off
That's
the
a
assembly
new-
line.
That's a new wrinkle in it. Now there is another option. I don't know what the cost is, but they do. AEV offers a re-chassis where they pull the box off the back and they mount it on a brand new chassis. So basically, you're paying for the chassis and to take that box and remount it. I don't know what the cost is. The downside is is you pull that rig out of service for 2 to 3 months, I'm guessing. I've seen the line down there at AV in North Carolina. It's impressive, and they do remounts. I'm gonna guess probably $80,000 to $90,000 to do a remount on those with that box. But then the other point is, okay, if that's the last year of the Chevy chassis, then what do you do with the next one?
I think that's something we need to discuss within the strategic planning of.
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, and we've gotten some good figures in the past from Jerry, which he's mentioned already. The sooner you can meet with your committee, and it sounds like you've got a number of options to look at, and then put the options together and do some pricing and as best you can, and bring it back to us, and we can take a look at it.
I can probably have Shannon get Shannon's the committee chair.
Okay.
Shannon can probably get a hold of Bill Latier and get a remount price, and also the amount of time that it would be out of service. I'm guessing 2 to 3 months.
But also, if we're looking something beyond 2016 year and the Duramax is not going to be available, then what is going to be available out there, and how does that impact, the pricing? And
the Chevy thing is the newest wrinkle in the whole equation. So, and that was probably about a month and a half ago. I sprung that one out.
But we're putting together the strategic long-term plan, and I know you got the email from the mayor.
Yep.
The sooner we can have those numbers, we can take a look at it relative to what we're going to put together as far as our long-term planning.
Can you Shannon right on?
That'd be great.
But don't order it.
No.
Do you want to throw that one out there?
No, because I don't want to have to write it.
For the record, I'm saying don't order it.
I think that's about $500 a month discretionary funds. No matter how you slice it.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
That's it.
Anybody else got anything?
No, nice job.
Thanks, sir. Craig?
Hopefully everyone's got my report. We actually had 18 calls this month. It's broken down on the first page between types of calls. A lot of MVA, accident, rescue, and emergency medical service incidents. Next part, our mutual aid. We did give 5 mutual aids. Average response time is 8.29 for the month. Again, this really increases that's from the time we're paged to the time we go on scene, and that's really due, the long length is really due to the mutual aid getting there. And then on the next page, you just have the breakdown of our costs between the districts and EMS related. So we do have some issues, as it says, with some minor paint bubbling on 3 of the trucks. We did fix a couple of them a couple years ago. I don't think we're talking huge, maybe $2,000 in total to fix them. We just want to get on top of them before we can worse. 516, like it says, it's extensive body work. We did once get an estimate on that. We were looking at over $9,000.
Is that the Jackson Hole?
Yes, the Jackson Hole.
That's 25 years old.
It's 91. It's 24.
Wow.
90. It's rusted out pretty good in the fender walls and stuff. But we're not gonna fix it. We're just gonna continue on. The big news actually for us is under the grants. Last year, Chamber went and submitted a grant for $182,000, and actually this afternoon I got a call from Chuck Schumer's office saying that we did receive a grant for $182,000.
Wonderful.
What was that for again?
Yeah.
That is for personal protective equipment.
So we can get the rest of the boots and
the turnout gears.
Wow,
And
fantastic.
a couple brand new rescue tools and some rope equipment and stuff. So there is a 5% match on there, but we can take that out of our normal budget stuff.
nice job.
Great. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Wow.
So that's It's good news. We don't have the official word yet, but that'll be coming. They're calling us the representatives and senators, you like that. Some here wish we could get better at, we don't ever seem to get the truck ones. We always put in front for some reason, they just will never.
They probably end up in
the truck.
cities.
Yeah, we got our air packs, we got our last turnout gear, we get a lot of equipment. We never get vehicles for some reason, so. But that was at least some good news, made my day and stuff, so.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's
There
great
will be
news.
press releases coming out from both the Senate, the Senator and the representatives, so. Good news.
When do you expect you may hear the official word on that?
Probably tomorrow or Friday, actually. It probably will go to Chamel. I've talked to Chamel. He's out of town, so he'll be looking for it on his email and stuff. There's some paperwork and stuff we need to do. First off, we need to tell him whether or not we accept it, which hopefully we're going to accept it. I can
We're good.
We're Dansville, man.
The thing is, the money does come to the fire department, so the invoices get cut by the fire department. We get the money, we pay the invoices, but outside of the village is 5%. So that's the way the grants work. Just really do come to the fire department's name. So
Yeah, I think
should help us down the road.
I'm in favor. Aye.
I think we're all in favor.
Good job.
It's pretty good. So
Yeah.
actually, we got an air pack grant 4 years ago for $150,000, so it's kind of unexpected to get something so soon. So
Who wrote the grant?
Chamel did.
Did he really? Well, congratulate him.
Isn't that writing stuff for roads?
What's that?
The fire truck travels on the road.
Yeah, road grants. Just throwing that one out there.
Did I emailed Pete? I didn't realize he was gone on the capital fund. When are you looking for that? Do you have any next week or?
Well, let me ask
I
you,
have my thoughts.
what would be reasonable?
next week? Possible.
That would be reasonable for us. Absolutely.
Okay.
What was that?
Long-term capital.
The mayor, yeah.
Oh, another truck?
Vehicle needs. Vehicle needs.
Got a lot of them over there, so. Yeah. So
There's probably a third world country that's going to.
That's for the strategic long-term planning.
Pick one of those up.
Yeah.
At least we did get some good design equipment.
Fix for us, please.
Okay. That's good news. Need a good
Yeah.
news once in a while.
Yeah.
That's great news.
I just found that out.
Anything else?
Okay.
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 Thanks, Greg.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before Jerry goes, I just didn't want to know if he had asked us a question in regards to the parking lot issues and the tires and Scott, did you take a look at that? I don't want to jump on anyone's toes, but I just see that Jerry was going to leave, and I thought that we should discuss that to see.
I did take a look at it. Basically, it's a pre-cast box that's in there. The top is, the salts probably was degraded it. So you'd have to, actually in the blacktop, well actually the ground below is kind of settled around it, so the water pools around it. So you'd have to actually cut the box down, which is a pain in the rear end. It can be done. And then basically reform it and pour it around it. So you probably talk to a good day, a couple guys to do it. Material-wise isn't a whole lot. You got a little concrete, which we could throw in with a sidewalk someplace, I'd be talking 3 wheelbarrow fulls or something, So.
Is that something we don't want to damage tires, because, it's a double-edged sword
Yeah.
that I see, because if the edge of it hits something, and if it pops a tire or something, then we're going to be buying the tire. And we didn't. But if we fix the problem up front, is it easier to fix the problem up front and help them out? I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. It really is.
Yeah, I was going to wait until the mayor came back,
Yeah.
but I'll
Yeah.
let you know. My opinion is we absolutely ought to consider helping him out and do what we can. But I think we got time, between now and when the mayor comes back, that Jerry, or I'll advise him, or Jerry can, and he'll be meeting with Scott. But my opinion is that, if we can do it, we ought to definitely help him out.
I agree. Let's get it done, and
Yep.
if Scott's willing to help him out, get that taken care of, because before, Is it getting to be a situation, I haven't seen it, you guys have, where it could do some damage to a tire?
I think eventually,
Yeah,
eventually, definitely.
there's actually rebar showing,
Right.
So, I mean,
and the whole
what's
back
the cost?
edge. Because it's not so much when the ambulance pulls out, it's when we're coming back in because we have to swing in, and either door, you swing in and you go right over top of it to try to get
Are you doing sidewalks now, Scott?
Yeah, we just
straight
did
down.
one today.
Trying to see if I had a picture of it.
Is that something that you could fit into the schedule to get done so that you can do it with a pour?
Yeah, that's what I would do. I mean,
Yeah.
three wheelbarrows, you can't.
Yeah, I know. But I don't know if it's something that we can't work on and say, give them the okay to take care of.
Well, would you be taking care of it between now and,
Before Pete gets back,
yeah,
once he get back Tuesday?
gets back, oh, yeah. Gets back the,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, Tuesday, I believe, he comes back the 12th.
but if you need board action,
Or no,
because we have to do board action because we're going out to the village or the ambulance company property to work on that. I don't know if there's any sticklers to that.
Probably should just put up the vote for the next board meeting, 21st. That way Pete's here.
Right,
I won't be here, but
Week or so isn't gonna matter.
yeah.
I won't be here, but I vote yes. But
well,
Just sign this paper.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm just gonna put it on the to-do list.
okay.
I just want to take.
Would you have to cut out stuff, the manhole cover and the drainage cover, is that what you?
No, what it is there's a frame that's precast into that,
The whole
and
box.
that's what holds the grate, and that just rusts away.
So basically, go down inside that box, cut that whole box out, frame it back up, pour it in, and
You're saw cutting the top of a concrete box off that has rebar in it. So you're saw cutting through concrete and rebar, so that actually the majority of the job is going to be saw cutting it out. Then form it up and throw some more back in.
I guess as long as the ambulance department buys a new blade, we're all set.
We probably won't use the blade, we'll use that new little jackhammer we have and probably do it in a really,
Yeah.
go over and pop it right out with that, done.
I like the idea of that. Quick, fast, easy, done.
That's the beauty of having something like that on the shelf. Won't be a big deal. But I agree with Dan, you know, we are on their property, definitely need you guys to
Board
say, go
action.
ahead. Yeah.
That was what I was.
So we don't have
Up
any,
and up, so people aren't gonna.
because you know somebody's gonna say, what are we
Yeah.
doing over there, da, 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 da. We definitely want Pete to know what we're doing, because he's the
Yeah.
one that's gonna take the bullet for that.
Okay.
Well, if we had to make a decision, we could make it, at the public informational meeting. I mean, that's
Official meeting.
that's a meeting, so if we had to, we could actually make a decision that evening.
28th or whatever,
Yep,
next Tuesday.
next Tuesday.
Right.
We could actually make the decision then if we
I mean, it
had
just
to.
looks like it's in rough shape. I'd hate to see lose a tire over something we could get fixed up.
Put it on the agenda for that night, so we don't forget it. Vote it. And we'll be able, because next week, probably till the tail end of the week, we will, somebody pays for a sidewalk that is. So you getting checks in, Mike, for any sidewalk?
No.
I think I did the last one that's paid. So.
Okay,
We'll take care of it. We just got to wait till the mayor gets back.
Give a heads up one, and we'll make sure that we'll probably move the one ambulance down to the third.
And maybe we can whack that curb off that you've been asking for a long time. That little,
Not sure why they didn't want us to do it the first time.
that's a state road, so I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I just tell Dean over the state what we're doing.
yeah.
All right, good night, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's a
all right,
big
Jerry.
problem.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Charlie?
Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Good one. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet here. Basically, mental health arrests and warrants are just a constant annoying battle. Because they're always at the most inopportune time when you've only got one person on and somebody has to go to jail or somebody has to go strong or go to Warsaw.
I didn't mean to bring that one in, sorry.
Yeah, it's never good. I mean, last Sunday night started at midnight with a mental health transporter, which actually we changed mid-year, went to detention. And then, for example, Tuesday, Brian comes back from a motor vehicle hearing in Geneseo. Shannon is at a hearing in Wayne County on a stolen gun. I'm covering the road for them, for Shannon, so we can go to court. Brian gets back from court, and 1, 2, 3 warrants arrests that are picked up by other agencies or turn themselves in. And then, as I said, mental health and warrants are the constant nagging battle. Don't I get a mental health arrest? It has to go strong. So you got Brian, who's here for a DMV hearing, who's now doing 3 warrants, and now he's covering the road. So I can take the mental health to strong, while Shannon's in Wayne County testifying on his way to Monroe County to do a sex abuse interview by Bona. The only thing that was remotely comfortable about it is Shannon's down in Monroe County with a half an hour to kill, so I met him at the old Hess station there on exit 9, so he took my mental health the rest of the way to strong, so I could get back to the village and cover the village, so Brian could go home and go to bed, so he'd come back to work at 10 o'clock. So, it's just the way it is. It's constant stuff. As far as, it's a police department, that's the way it works. For fun and giggles, Agway has their barbecue this weekend, Saturday, so we'll be putting up some no parking signs along Maple Street, and I'm going to steal a couple handicap signs. They wanted Chad to have a handicap space this weekend for that day, because they apparently found could be beneficial, so we'll throw a couple little handicap temporary signs pounded in the ground, we'll pound some no parking signs along Maple Street, and a couple barricades on Allen Street, so that thing grows every year a little bit. It's a nice event. Other than that, it's no trouble, no fuss, no muss.
We're also going to have a little demo, I guess, with not a demo, whatever they do with the fire
Fireman's
department.
competition, water competition.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The fire department are playing
Okay,
at
doing it on
Allen
Allen
Street.
Street, I think.
Yes.
They asked permission to hook on the hydrants. I talked to Greg. They're in charge of it, so to me it's a drill. So
Right.
I don't really see that it's an issue. But I just how do you guys feel it's an issue?
No, I would consider it a drill. I mean, it's a draw for people to come in and spend money.
You're okay with that, right?
As long as there's water still on the hill. If there's not, maybe we shouldn't do it, but otherwise, we'll have fun.
Chief Osgana and Geneseo has been good enough to try to work out new car bids for everybody. They've changed the practice a little bit from the state bid to this, I'm not even sure what the heck you call it, but it's kind of a new twist on everything, so everybody's trying to play catch up. So he's being good enough to the police chiefs to rob information from other folks, put it together, so hopefully, with any luck, we can have some information here in the next couple of weeks on just what's out there available for cars, what the bid is actually at, and hopefully make a decision, well, maybe August, I'm sure, before we can actually make a decision. So that's a little different twist on things. And then community service workers, like we talked about before, I think the court's given us, have put in the works 4, maybe 5 community service workers. Now, you get varying degree of success with that. You get guys who show up and they work very hard. We had a young guy here that did a great job. He swept both curbs out here across the street and in front of the town hall. He swept around the building. He transplanted, speaking of planters and things of that nature, and the fact that we have made an effort to reduce ones that aren't being taken care of properly. There's one over here in the Church Park. That organization did a great job planning it, but for 3 years they have not been maintaining it. We've had community service workers making an attempt to maintain it, but it came to a point where it's just not practical. So we transplanted the good plants out of the planter into around the gazebo to fill up spaces around the gazebo. And the kid did a nice job transplanting the stuff. He didn't kill it. Strategically put it in there so it looks good. We put 4 big hostas around the far side of the gazebo if you're over there looking. And then we spoke with Scott, and Scott and his guys went over and took that weed pit out, topsoil, seeded it, so that eyesore is gone, and there's an improvement to the gazebo, and the kid did a good job as community service. We've got another kid started today. He was doing some weeding in Paradise Alley. He's coming back tomorrow to weed the planters in front of the post office, and we'll have him work his way down through there.
Like I say, them berries down there in front of the old 5 and 10, them are,
Yeah, we can talk to them about sweeping them off.
yeah.
Yeah, there's some over in front of Totally Wine in that area
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
Remax. They're
Yeah, I don't know
Pretty
what kind
bad.
of trees they are, but that was a
Dirty
a bad decision.
I think you got a chainsaw, you just take that right off the road.
We're going to spray Main Street too, Friday morning, really, we'll round up all those weeds and everything that are around.
Yeah, around that clockwork where the
That's
clock
really
is.
bad.
That's bad. No, feel free to hit a couple of those planters. It looked like they're
I
alive.
looked at them today when I went by Dan, I thought the same thing you did. How do you tell what's weeds and what isn't?
And yeah, we can have that whole conversation. Me and the chief had the conversation, and I pointed him out to him. He was walking with his son. I was walking with my daughter, and
So you're
I
pointing mine, and I'm like, that's mine, that's a good one.
I didn't. Was that really? I was gonna say because I looked over, and I yelled at him. I go, "See this one? I don't know if these are wild weeds."
You convinced them to be a Baptist.
Mine's right in front of, you were talking to the one on the north side of the garbage can, mine's the one on the south side. I got that one, and I got that one in front of Anderson's, the one in front of Clockworks. I take care of the one in front of the Omen Dread. And
We got about 12 or
working
15
really
more
hard
that
right
are
now.
open up. If you guys
You're a
got it.
regular Doc Abraham, aren't you?
I'm pretty tapped out right now. I've got all I can take.
He ain't buying them. He's transplanted from other places.
Yeah, there you go.
Get some more plants.
I wonder what he was doing
I
up
was
there.
wondering where mine went on the side
At
of the
midnight
house.
with a shovel. I wonder what he was doing
That's
up
right.
there.
Definitely, I got it. So, I don't know, other than that, I
I got a
can't
couple
give anything.
peonies there.
That's right.
But we have been addressing it. The problem is some people, if you drive around the village,
It's true.
one person considers a plant, another person considers a weed.
One
Well,
person's taste is not the
Yeah,
same as the
exactly.
other's.
The only,
I had that fight with Don Seiler an awful lot. He said, you should
you
plant
know, the
whatever
thing
you
of
want.
it
I
is
said,
you can
no.
tell, you can tell one that's being looked at, being maintained, or it just planted and walked on by, you know?
Well, and down in front of like DNY, they got shrubs out there. Unless they're cut down.
Oh, yeah.
detailed stuff. He
I
doesn't
mean, it
want-
doesn't look like it goes with anything else.
We've talked about yanking those in your past
Yeah.
years. I think we've actually made the decision to yank them. It just hasn't,
Well,
just one of
Brian-
those things you don't think about.
Brian wrote us and emailed us that he would trim them
And they're
He
trim.
has- he
They're
has
trim.
been.
yeah.
I looked
He
the
didn't
other day, I'm
want to
like,
move it. Brian didn't, that's kind of why they stayed.
Yeah,
He
right,
wanted
yeah.
to leave 'em and-
Right,
But I think somebody, a committee, needs to
right.
make some decisions on Main Street.
You
Because
ain't
one
did.
person wants to cut all the trees down, one person, the mayor doesn't want to touch any trees. So, I hope you heard.
Well,
it.
there's some that
Now,
need.
Mike's not going to want to take down.
Mike wants to take a lot of trees down.
He does want to
Yes,
take
he
them out.
does.
Yeah,
Because a
there's
lot of
some,
those trees
there's
should
some
go.
that need some serious attention, yeah. Right.
It
I'm
needs,
not
it
going
needs a
with
rehab, is what it needs.
What?
Yeah, right.
No.
Don't be afraid. It's not going on their website.
I'm not concerned with what goes on the website.
I think every other plant.
Cut them at the bottom. I'm not a tree lover.
So,
I don't think
By
personally,
cleaning up
So,
the planters, the
given
trees
what's
wouldn't
better.
be so bad.
The-
I think fill in every other planter.
the lack of control, just to use the term, in the trees and attention to them, be better off not having them. That's my opinion. You know, unless you got something in there of a dwarf nature.
That's what we need.
Yeah. If you had a
And we
dwarf,
really,
weeping cherry or something like that, that only grows to a certain height and, you know,
ornamental.
But they still have to be
Absolutely.
maintained and trimmed and,
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
shaped. And I think sometimes they just go in and, whoa, that tree became big.
yeah. And
they're all
they're just,
getting big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're all
Yeah.
getting big.
Well, look at the
And
ones a
they're-
couple years ago, they were all tipping over and you had to.
Yeah.
Should have just keep pushing. Sorry.
There's attention that needs to be, but I don't get out much, but I'll tell you, you go to a main street that doesn't have what we have, and it sticks out like a sore thumb.
You
It
need,
really does.
you need some trees.
Some.
You need some trees. I've lived in 4 states. You need some trees. I've seen a lot of community main streets. You need some trees. But seriously, we could pave in, if you paved in every other planter so that the planters down low didn't look so bad, then the trees wouldn't look so bad. You know, really, you need some trees.
But, so, community service workers working on some of those problems, but like I say, they're not they're community service workers, so
Right.
you get one that does a great job, you get one that does a mediocre job, and you get one that just puts his time in. I guess every little bit counts. Other than that, the guys are working hard. There's plenty of work to do. Particular thoughts, questions, concerns? They just finished up 10 hours overtime this weekend on a traffic grant. It was fairly successful.
Charlie, on the justice report, Virginia Galton, is that the one with the? Is that the one we were talking about with the dogs and whatnot? So she came to court and they dismissed it. You know?
I would hope not.
It says here they dismissed it.
Well,
It was an arrest on 8/14. Zoning law.
oh
zoning
no.
code.
She has charges in Sparta as well that were transferred to Danville.
Okay.
So those might have something to do with
Okay.
Sparta charges.
I'm just saying.
There's a conflict of interest up there, so they transfer some cases to Danville, and so that would be. I believe she pled on the unlicensed dog, and I think the unlicensed dog is only a $25 max fine on it anyway.
Well, it'd just be nice if we had some cooperation with what we're trying to do in the courts.
Well, it's.
I just
Yeah.
saw that and I thought
No,
that
I
was
mean-
what it was. I didn't notice the 2014, which is now.
There's some a number of county difficulties that have come to light in the last 36, and have been nagging difficulties that have really been focused difficulties in the last 30 to 60 days that are trying to be addressed through law enforcement council, and with varying degrees of, I would say, success at this point, with a number of county departments that seem to lack focus on the difficulties that this community has with drugs, with mental health. And when I say mental health, I'm not talking about the health department. Two people in the same office not being able to tell you the same answer. And one person telling you, this is the answer, do it this way because I said so. And then we do that, and then we get a piece of hate mail on Wednesday saying, how come we did this and why didn't we know better, and blah, blah. Basically, goes beyond just, it becomes a very personal insult on the mannerisms that some employees are allowed to talk to other employees. So.
What's that in regards to?
Some juvenile offenses, particular juveniles having a lot of difficulties, and who's going to get their way matched between probation and social services, and they can't seem to figure out who's going to win that argument, but the PD's caught in the middle of it. And so we exercise the obligations that we have as far as responding to call, dealing with the situation, making a mental health arrest, ultimately going to detention, being challenged on why do we have the right to take someone to detention. CPL clearly makes it our right to take someone to detention. Transporting someone to family court and being told, don't come here at 9, come back at 2. We go back at 2. We literally drag the child into court with a deputy, one under each arm, so the dead juvenile can be released. And then getting scolding paperwork from probation saying the paperwork you sent us isn't complete. Well, the reason it doesn't have the tickets in there is because your lawyer who prosecutes these cases told us not to put the tickets in there. So last week was a real focusing point on a number of county agencies that I just had enough. So by Thursday night at 9 o'clock, I didn't come to work Friday. So I just had enough. So,
Okay, I'm going to add to it.
So we'll start again this week with them.
I'll add to it. And I think
But some concerns in the courtroom as far as how the assistant DA has some difficulties apparently understanding that when a teenager has 3 marijuana arrests in less than 14 months, and his brother has 3 marijuana arrests in less than 16 months, along with a DWI drug charge, that it's too big a deal to bring the lab technician down from the city. It's too big a deal to schedule all these trials in one night on both these brothers, have the lab technician come down for one night, testify if need be in each trial. And when the judge says, I'm not going to accept your plea recommendation, this person, we've got this kid 3 times in 14 months, the law allows us to send him to jail for 15 days. I want to keep that on the table. And the prosecutor explains, well, Judge, if you don't take my plea recommendation, I'm going to withdraw the charge. The judge says, I'm not accepting it. And then they withdraw the charge. They refuse to prosecute it. we recognize we have a drug problem, but it's only as good as the headline. Once the headline is made, then we don't care so much anymore.
Right.
You know, and I appreciate the fact that they've made marijuana legal in Colorado, but they haven't made it legal in New York. And, you know, when you have one family that has 7 drug-related charges between them, yeah, there's no doubt the cocaine dealer on Washington Street that we nabbed and the guy who just got 6 years from Washington Street had influence on this community. But you know what? Those 2 brothers with seven drug charges between them, you got to have a lot of drug contact to get charged that many times in such a short period of time. They've also had a lot of impact on our community, and there's a lot of other kids their age watching this and see what's going on.
laissez-faire attitude that they would have. If they're going to do it that many times.
Right.
It's just the attitude that they just don't care.
One was a hit and run under the influence on his way to court. So the guys are working very hard downstairs. There just seems to be some, whether it's coincidental or whatever, some other difficulties that we're trying to work through.
And then trying to be politically correct and not wanting to beat a dead horse. Your story on your take, there was some issues that in the courtroom or the court security officer again, Dave saying that now we have to have it because the agreement, the arrangement, I know we had an agreement.
We didn't have an agreement.
Huh?
We had an agreement.
Well, but he wasn't happy with the agreement that we had. He's not happy with, but you all got the email.
Yeah.
So what?
But I didn't read into that. Only that he wasn't happy. He didn't say what occurred that didn't make him happy, other than.
Well, he's been complaining to everybody. And then
Can you enlighten us to that?
It wasn't in the email, but he's going to individual ones complaining, including members of the town board.
So all I can offer is the courts have always been 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock. So we have an officer available at 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock. The fact that he opens the doors at 10 after 12 or quarter to 12 for an hour and 15 minutes prior to court starting, we don't have an officer for that, and we're not making one available. And my suspicion would be if it's a hazard at 1 o'clock, it's a hazard at 12 o'clock. So why do we open the door and expose yourself for 45, 55, 65, 90 minutes before the official start of court? Why you don't open the door, have your staff in there and expose yourself? If you can expose yourself without fear or hazard at that point, I guess you can be exposed after 1 o'clock. It's the same people coming and going. So there's always been that dilemma. But we have someone available at 1 and at 7. He has now since changed his court time to 10 a.m. So as such, we have now changed our response to 10 a.m. And 7 p.m. I would have to assume.
Can I just stop real quick?
Yep.
Has that cost us any more in overtime to adjust these hours, or is it still cost us the same amount of money as it did before?
It'd probably be an hour or 2 more a week, potentially.
When did he know about? When did he do the change?
He told us probably a month ago that he was doing
He
it
never
in
told
July.
us. I don't.
Yeah, he did
He never
mention
said
that.
he did.
Yes, he did mention us. Those changes.
So
I missed that one.
So we adjusted downstairs. Now, obviously the first week you get that, you know it's July, whatever, it's going to be July, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But inevitably, somebody schedules a social services issue at 10 a.m. But it didn't matter because the officer was out there, before 10 a.m. And then when he had to leave at 10, I think he was actually out there quarter after 9. And then when he had to leave at 10 a.m., it was simple. He sent a text to myself and to the other officer that covered the road. And I said, I'll cover the road. The other officer went down and handled the courtroom. So at 10 a.m., there's an officer. When the door opens, there's an officer there. He had expressed to me a desire to have people scanned or what have you at 9:30, from 9:30 to 10, so that he could start at 10. Well, whether you have 15 people sitting in the courtroom waiting for 10 o'clock, or you scan the first one at 10 and send them and say, here, start with this guy. There's going to be one getting scanned and fed in every 2 minutes, 3 minutes, every 5 minutes. So we have 15 people sitting in the room waiting, or he takes them as they come in the door. I don't really see the difference. But what I do see the difference in is, as cheesy as this may sound, we've dragged every hour we can think of into that 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. window of the day, when the majority of people in this community are out and about, having difficulties, causing difficulties, available to be interviewed, available to be followed up on, collect evidence, and so on and so forth. So I can have a guy come in and work 9:30 to 5:30, or I can have a guy come in and work 10 to 6. 5:30 to 6 is a better window for me than 9:30 to 10. And I don't think it changes the courtroom one single solitary bit, because at 10 a.m. when the door opens up, we scan the first person, and here's your first victim, Judge. Have at it. I don't see how a half an hour changes anything on his end, but it definitely is more beneficial to me later in the afternoon than early in the morning. You know, you can argue it both ways. Point is, we started nursing our way through the metal detector. Some things that we thought were square aren't working out the way we thought. There was a bracket we thought we could attach to a door that would help make things a little simpler. The bracket doesn't come off the way we thought it would, so that part of the thing failed. You know, finding the appropriate table to put between the metal detector and the walls, not as simple as we thought. You know, not a big deal. You know, we managed. But you know, we're not set up the same way here. You know, at the county courthouse, if you collect 5 pocket knives from somebody, there's an office right there. You can go in and secure the 5 pocket knives in the office. In the middle of that hallway, you get 5 pocket knives from 5 people. You're sitting there with a handful of pocket knives in your pocket. You know, it's not a huge deal, but when the next guy comes out and says, "Hey, I want my pocket knife back," which one's yours? You know, unless you're now going to tag each one, you know, and put it, you know. So there's just little things. It's not huge.
So when you just had to send them back outside and say there's no pocket knives allowed in here, we ain't taking it?
Then that was the other
Come back.
alternative.
Yeah.
That was
Take
the
it
other,
back to your car and throw it in the dumpster.
That was the other alternative, is we turn people away and send them back out to come back through. No fuss there. You know, we're locking the back door. That's can't come in with the typical grumbles. You know, the mailman couldn't get in.
Yeah,
You know,
they're good legs.
You know,
Man,
Hiking around.
we had a girl there today. She blew a 3.8 on the pre-screen. You know,
3.8, wasn't it?
3.8.
Yep.
Yeah. So she's drunk. You
Yeah,
know,
4.0 is almost legally dead if you're not an intoxicated person.
You know, so she's a 3.8. You know, so you know,
With a pocket knife?
no. But you know, you run into the
the other initial was a vision pool.
you run into the fact that this woman's a defendant. She's out on ROR. She comes to court at 3.8. The judge doesn't want her in court, but she needs to be in court.
Judge, she's a 3.8. She can't enter into anything anyways because it's a contract.
But maybe there needs to be a condition on her release. I kind of anticipated her going to jail. You know, so send you home. You know, so
Hopefully she didn't drive.
you know, but you know,
How can you walk at 3.8?
Oh,
She
you
wasn't
can.
there. Well, there was a girl that helped her down the hall and out the front door.
yeah. So I mean,
It's a little rough morning
you know, so
or a long night.
and then of course, you know, we got into it. Then of course, apparently, it was a conversation on not having anybody in the court that's under the influence, and that turned into a conversation of how do you handle DWI arraignments that refuse to take the test.
Yeah.
But it's not an option. So
Where the guy who's drunk and just walloped his girlfriend or his wife, and
it's got
two
two courts.
sheets to the man.
That's right. So we'll work out the rough spots 1 week at a time, one session at a time, but you can probably anticipate there will probably be some more negative impressions that maybe aren't quite as negative or appropriately explained as maybe they should be.
So, Charlie, what I'm hearing from you is that since court opens at 10, then our obligation will be to have somebody there at 10,
At 10.
not prior to 10.
No, I would prefer not. Now,
Yeah.
if the board ultimately decides that they want that half-hour window, we're here to serve.
Well, the email that I got indicated that there was that prior to 10 o'clock period of time, there wasn't anybody there.
No,
But also there was an indication that there was a period of time between when officially court started at 10 and maybe for the next 15, 20 minutes there wasn't an officer available.
That's what we
So there
I
was a
wasn't
period of
physically-
time before 10, but also after 10 when an officer wasn't in court.
I wasn't physically in the building to say. I can only tell you I got a text saying,
Yeah.
is it you or I taking court? Well, I was loading up a trunk with stolen property, and so the on-duty officer that would be taking calls, it was him or I, because the officer came in for court, was now off for a social services interview. So the officer on duty that would be taking calls, my response to him is I got the calls. I'm going to assume.
They should have been all straightened out long before then, though, because the guy who had the courts at 10 o'clock should have known that he already had something at 10 o'clock, so that someone else already knew by 9 a.m.
Yeah, there's a, social services walks in the door and they have an issue that this officer's working on. It's like, can we go talk to this family now? Okay, we can do that because he or he will cover. So it was just, so then the text came to me, is it you or me? And I said, it's you. And so I would tend to believe, my understanding from the officers is they were one left and the other walked in. That's my understanding from the officers. One walked out, one walked in. So, and the one that walked out was there well before 10 o'clock. So I just don't. And again, I come back to the fact that in the event, which I don't believe this was one of those, in the event that somebody actually wasn't there for 10 minutes, which is not our goal to have those windows of open, but should it occur for whatever reason, it seems like the person complaining can be in that unprotected environment by his choosing with the same people sitting in his courtroom, coming to his desk for 15, 30, 35, 60, 90 minutes with the door wide open. And we've all seen it. I pointed out to certain people. And that's okay. But he's quick to complain if one of my guys allegedly isn't there for 15 minutes.
And I worked with that individual for many years, and I took that email. I thought there's got to be something more to this. And you just explained it. And I'm looking at this now as, God, I told you I wanted a full-time court officer in my courtroom because you quit nitpicking. Obviously, crap can happen in seconds and fall apart within seconds. But again, come on. If you're talking 20 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes, and that's an issue. But I see it as a cat pouncing on the mouse that, it's been 10 minutes, I got him now. That's how I took it.
And I find it hard to believe it was even 10 minutes. I find it hard to believe it was even literally a second. I find it hard to believe from the officers I spoke to that it wasn't an automatic replacement one for the other. One, I got this problem, it's you or the chief. Hey, chief, is it you or me? It's you. Done deal.
Did he talk to you about it?
Yeah.
And see, there you go. There's a communication thing that...
The only conversation I've had on this topic at all is when I go to the courtroom for some completely other piece of business and it's brought up in basically what I consider in passing. Like this whole half-hour thing, I was in the courtroom working on something completely different, and it's, oh, by the way, this is what I want. And it's like...
Well, that can't be.
No,
communication...
he doesn't wag the dog. We'll let him know what he's going to get, and he's going to get him at 10 o'clock, because that's what he's getting. And the police officer, when the police officer gets there, should be the one that opens the door and says, we're here, because you know what?
That's right.
If it's at 10:05, at 10:05, court will start.
Right. Yeah.
And my personal belief is the officer, when he gets there, opens the door. That way, if that's what he's worried about, if he opens the door at 9:30,
he's on his own.
He's on his own.
Yeah. And that's been our take on it.
I agree with that, because you know what? We got to maximize our coverage to the community.
Right.
Exactly. And how many times has court been changed to facilitate personal whatever?
Wouldn't it be better for us if that court was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
It was better.
But it was changed to 10 o'clock in the morning because that was what he wanted. It's not what we wanted. It's not what's best for business here. So if he opens the door at 9:30, I would just ask to please have the officer there by 10 a.m. to make sure at least one person's always there.
Absolutely.
Which we agreed to.
Absolutely.
And
we are committed to that downstairs.
And if he wants to open the door at 9:30, hey, feel free. He can come out and wind up.
Is
We're offering court security, not court plus security.
Is the other judge, is there an issue with the nighttime court?
Every time the conversation between that judge and I come up, he just smiles and says whatever day he wants. That's the most I've ever gotten out of it.
Well, he gets it at 7 o'clock then.
So,
let's move on. We've already discussed this. And you know what? Again, tonight, is there court tonight?
Yes.
Is Judge Worth in court?
No.
Judge Worth could come up here and address the board if he so chose. He did not choose. Let's move on. Waste enough time.
Yes, I agree.
Yep.
My opinion.
Hallelujah.
Aye.
Anything else?
Sorry. But it's just,
Other than that, I'm good.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
All set, complete? Yep.
Oh, and by the way,
Thank you.
so the board knows, Chief Perkins assisted in removing some tree limbs. He did some public service.
I heard him on the radio.
Outside of the, that's right. And I gave the DPW some quick response, and Mr. Tracy was out there assisting his crews, and I was impressed by the quick
Trustee Humphrey had his
response.
chainsaw out there.
I didn't say anything about Bob the Builder out there. So, but that was good. And it was, those guys were out just within minutes. Doing their job. But Charlie was out there helping move those
Oh,
branches
yeah.
until the one fell out of the tree, and we ran like hell. And we were done.
at that point, you were done.
I was done.
About the branches, since there's so many from last night's storm, are we going to have
I see the crews out today picking up branches.
We're out.
a quick pickup of branches? Are we?
We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, let's
I
move
wonder
on.
because I was asked.
Budget and finance, Megan gave us some reports. Do we have the end of year reports in here, Megan?
Yep, that's what's in there. We'll close out June as soon as we can, but we focused on end of the year today. Your should have been the top page in your folder, the
Yep.
sheet here. I don't know if you guys want to take a look at that. Let me know if you have any questions.
Can you just kind of run down and explain it a little bit, please? 'Cause I'm-
Yep. The top line there shows you, I guess, the first column here, the top line for the general fund, 6/1/2015. That's our beginning fund balance. And then if you move over one column, we had appropriated fund balance in this year's budget, that 61,575. That was the FEMA funds.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
Let me know if you guys have any questions on that. That's money that came in last year that we need to spend this year.
Yep.
So then our anticipated ending fund balance at the end of this year, and that is if all of our revenues come in, all of our expenditures go out that we budgeted for, and we don't touch fund balance. That's where we should be. Standard, I guess, recommended fund balance that we should have in the bank is 15 to 20% of your budget. I think 20% would be 600,000. So just to give you an idea there, and then
I just have one question. Does that include the money that we transferred in, the 400 and...
yeah, this is all at year end.
in 2016, so that's
Yeah.
including the $469,000 that we actually. So if we didn't transfer that
Yep.
money in, we'd be at a negative $4,000.
So then we have listed, and Charlie sat in on this. You can chime in if you want, if I'm not communicating this well enough. The next, so if you go down the spreadsheet, the next three are liabilities that we have on the books. The first one is we had set up an ambulance reserve. We didn't budget anything in that, I guess, for budgeting purposes, but we did set up a reserve this year. We did a quick tentative estimate today, and after paying on debt service and vehicle repairs over the last few years, we kind of figured out that it would be about $100,000. That could be a low estimate.
That would be what's
that would
remaining.
go into the ambulance reserve or a portion to the fire
From the MedX
apparatus.
account.
From the MedX account, yes.
Okay. That doesn't really reflect what's in the MedX account. It reflects what is being suggested we put into an ambulance reserve fund.
Right now, the MedX money is running through the general fund, so all of those monies are being mingled together. So,
We talked about making that a separate
right, so this,
item, right? I think, so we could... Okay, go ahead, keep going.
okay.
Keep going. You're doing-
And then we have the compensated absences. A couple of you probably recall, I think it was last August, the board had done a resolution acknowledging the comp absences on the books. So if we needed to pay those out today, we would have those funds set aside. So you see that listed there. And then the other thing that Brian decided was best to do beginning this year is the police uniform liabilities. We have police uniform allowances annually that roll over. They've been rolling over in our budget. It's not really the appropriate way or his preferred way, I'm not sure, to do that. So we'll record that as a liability moving forward. So that's everything for the general. And then we get to water. So you'll see our fund balance there, June 1, is $26,710. That should be, like I explained before, we follow our budget. The end of this year, that should still be our fund balance. I listed compensated absences just like we did for the general fund. That's the only liability on the books there. And then you have your sewer fund. Same goes. That beginning fund balance is $204,548, and then I had listed the liability on the books for the compensated absences. So the numbers highlighted in yellow is what the board should be looking at as far as a fund balance.
Recognizing, only under the general fund, recognizing that 465 also includes a roughly $100,000 medics money, which, by a gentleman's agreement with the ambulance company, would basically be money that would be used to buy ambulances down the road.
So where'd the 469 go that we just transferred?
That was cash, and it went into our bank account.
But it should be under the fund balance, or?
It's in there. Yeah, it was money that was owed to the general fund
Okay.
from water or sewer.
But it's not, that's not
It's not reflected here.
reflected, that's not in this.
There's no reason to do a separate line or anything like that. That's been resolved.
No,
If we-
I
if we-
understand that, but is that money reflected in this?
Yes. So, like you said before, if we hadn't resolved that issue, our fund balance in the general fund
But
would
I
be
thought that
significantly less.
with this budget, if we didn't touch any of the extra money, there was $130,000 in there that we should be to the plus. Is that right?
I mean, we did projections for you. We did our best to save. As Charlie mentioned, you have $100,000. That's a tentative. It's a recommendation. The board hasn't made any decisions. That shows on this sheet for the MedX. We have our compensated absences.
Well,
I
paid
guess
for fire
maybe I
truck
don't
too,
understand
$570
I don't understand the
Yeah.
issue.
No, I'm just trying to figure out, because we just put another close to $500,000 in there, but
well, paying for the fire truck, we knew we were going to be really close to paying for
We-
the fire truck.
Yeah, we bought.
But no, but this says projected at the end of this thing in 2016. I had been talking and I had heard that if we followed the budget, then from what we have now, not including $469,000 that was moved, there was going to be $130,000 to the plus.
When?
When?
You're talking
At the end of this-
2016?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I can't.
Where that
Comment on that.
where that could possibly turn up is what we have in governmental support and contingency. There's about 127,000 in those two line items.
So that would be not spending everything that's in the
So
budget.
in the budget we're in right now, if we didn't touch contingency And if we didn't touch general governmental support, those two line items, I believe together they're about 127,000. That should be available also at the end of this. But that wouldn't be calculated into this figure.
That wouldn't be
because-
calculated
right,
into this.
Right.
It would be in addition to,
Next year at this time, that would be added to this.
Okay.
So that's an item that would be every year, at the end of the year, if you will,
If we didn't
would
spend that.
reflect that.
Now, along with this, if my understanding is correct,
Okay. No,
That-
that's all I was wondering.
if you look at that 284,000 compensated absences, my understanding is that money is available.
What's this
that's
now?
correct.
That 284,000
Okay.
in compensated absences, my understanding is that's money, actual physical cash in the bank, that has been earmarked for that purpose.
All of the liabilities
all
are
those.
cash that are available.
The
But that's not what we're
83,000.
going to touch that.
No,
That's
if
already
we,
allotted
if the village
for-
closed today, we could pay those expenses.
Because prior to this, there was some concern that compensated absent money was not available to us.
So basically, like money that people have on the board for.
Holidays,
Sick time,
vacations.
holiday, whatever, yeah.
Now, what about monies for if each of the guys who are MEOs can have 500 hours on the bank of comp time? Is that money accounted for in this?
Yep.
That's
So all the
it,
money is
compensated
accounted
absence.
for. So like if we went done today
Right.
and we could, that money is in that. Where is that in the compensated absences?
Yes.
So that's time owed, sick time, whatever. It's all calculated.
Yes.
It's all accounted for.
Okay.
Then that police uniform liabilities, and let's say one of the guys has $1,000 in his uniform allowance, and he leaves tomorrow,
He doesn't get it.
He
though.
doesn't get
he doesn't get it, I know, so that knocks that down to 37.
Well, and the reason for that being on this line, we've historically always put that in the budget. The difficulty is let's say this year there's $4,700 in there, but let's say next year is bulletproof vest replacement. Well, then next year that's going to be almost zilch. And basically, by taking it out of the budget line item, it keeps that from fluctuating wildly. Where one year it's $4,000 or $5,000, next year it's $500 because the guy bought bulletproof vests, and then over the next 2 or 3 years it goes up, and then it drops. So Brian's suggestion is we take it out of there, put it in this line, recognizing hopefully every month, we remember that $4,700 isn't available to us to spend because it's going to be continuing to build at some point when the guys go over their regular allowance for some significant purchase like a bulletproof vest, and then it's going to drop. But in our day-in, day-out budget, it won't show those wild reflections every year. So that's why he's suggesting we put it over there, so it doesn't make our budget look wild, but yet we need to remember the fact that it's a responsibility we have, don't spend that money. And that $100,000 is kind of the same idea. Brian makes it very clear, it's up to the board how you spend that medics money. But we also all recognize that in theory, as Jerry said tonight, when that whole medics thing was promoted, it was promoted with the theory that the village's portion would be used at the village's discretion for the purchase of ambulances. So while that's in there, don't spend it.
But
So
I also think that they pull a larger portion now than the village pulls.
there's a whole bunch of stuff that could go.
So
into
there's a
that.
whole lot of variables here that we're going to talk about as
Exactly.
moving forward
And
because they're pulling more money out of that than we are for their own pockets.
right. The point tonight is we didn't want anybody to look at 465 and say we're 465 to the good. Well, you're 465 to the good minus the $100,000 medics issue and minus the $4,700 police issue.
So from this 465, we've got to start deducting the reds.
Not the 284. The 284 is my understanding, right, Megan, is an independent amount of money that's covered. Or does that come out of the 465 also?
The 465 is already, it's on its own.
It's on its own.
It's already minus the liabilities.
It's minus the 100 and the 4,700.
Okay,
I
so
adjusted
Sorry.
Brian's spreadsheet for that.
so the 465 is 465.
Yes.
Doesn't touch any of these other things. These are all
You
their
don't
own.
have to do anything with that number.
Okay.
It's what we've got.
It's what we have. And as long as we stick to the budget that we set, we don't have to worry about any of these numbers. I mean,
I like the budget.
try to save. Let's not spend it all. I mean,
Unless it's an emergency or
the
it's
water
needed.
fund balance looks
There's a
pretty
big difference
scary.
between needs and wants. And we've got to stick with our needs right now and weigh the wants.
And one thing, the CD idea,
Uh-huh. Do you want to talk about that?
one thing that was talked about is, you know.
Who talked about?
Brian and Megan and I.
Our bookkeeper was there today.
And
Well,
the
they-
chief's involved in that?
Absolutely.
You got all the time in the world.
No, I'm short-changed, so I want to make sure the dollars are spent wisely. So, the police department's running on the edge, folks, so yeah, I'm poking my nose in. The 284,000 in absences, plus the other 179, the other 83,000, is in just a simple savings account, making whatever that interest rate is,
Which is less than 1%.
0.5%,
Yeah.
0.02, something like that. It would probably be practical to consider putting that into a CD, where maybe 1.5%, 2%, and then staging the CDs, breaking it down into different increments so that the CDs mature every 6 months, so that if someone did retire, you'd have the money available to pay them. But yet, if you're not looking, if you're not looking that you don't need all $500,000 available tomorrow or even this year. And if you had it available every 6 month increments, where a CD came available every 6 months, and you found yourself in the need for that cash, you'd have it. By the same token, if you didn't, you just put it into another CD, and you should be able to. The first 6 month CD, when it matured at the end of 6 months, you redo it for 3 years at a better interest rate. But that would be 6 months after the last one that matures at 2.5 years. So it would just perpetually be every 6 months. Does that make sense? You just renew each one that comes out 3 years, and you get a better interest rate.
Are you going to handle that too?
Just an idea.
I thought it was a really good idea. It wasn't my idea, so I'm not going to own it. But our bookkeeper was for
He's
it.
the finance guy.
Right now, I'm just listening to him. I'll take action when I'm ready to take action, but I'll listen to what people have to say.
Food for thought, something to think about.
The CD idea I'll put on paper anyways, but it's a good idea.
And,
I think it's a good idea too. I thought just before you mentioned that, it's like, well, if that money's there, why can't we invest that?
Yeah.
Or aren't we allowed to?
we went through that list of what the options were. It's a pretty narrow list.
That's my wonder, if we're allowed to.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
We can put it into CDs. What were the other things?
He basically-
CDs, savings accounts, and there was a third thing that he said he didn't like.
Yeah, but anything we did would have to be involved with. It would have to be a bank.
Money market.
Yeah, money market.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
That's something to think about.
and then you have your month-end reports for May at year-end, so those have adjusted. So you guys can take a look at those revenues and expenditures.
Well, I recommend we take a look at them between now and the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be taking a much closer look at the financial reports and year-end reports between now and then. I have a lot of the same questions that you have. Without getting into the specific or the detail at this point, I'll probably be sitting down with Megan and having a discussion.
It's pretty amazing, though, we're back to 1.4 million in fund balance in
Well,
the number. I'm not saying it's all in fund balance, but that's the same number that we've been working around for the last 2 years.
Well, no, that was the number that was put out there that we had in our general fund. That number is all, you're adding all three.
Well, yeah, but they're compensated absences, that's employee, but I mean, that money was basically all intermingled before. I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's still the same number. that we've been-
right.
You know, some money was over here, some money was over here.
well, there was a $400,000 mistake, so.
Yeah, well, I know, and then, but if you put the fire truck back in there, you know, it's at $2 million. And I'm just saying, it's just odd that we're the same number that we've been talking about for over and over.
But these are concrete numbers.
These are concrete now, correct, Megan? There's no two.
There's no guessing on these numbers, right?
You're talking about this, stick to the budget.
No, that was my question. My question was, these are concrete
Year
numbers.
two.
These aren't numbers that were pulled out of somewhere, correct? So this money can actually be allocated.
No, we didn't just guess, right?
That's my question.
Yeah, it was
Because for a long
wild
time, I
guess.
think there was a whole lot of guessing going on.
Yeah.
And now I don't like
Well,
this.
it's actually been extremely complex, and there's been a lot of work put into this, making sure that we have good numbers. I'm not going to tell you that that this isn't going to possibly change throughout the year. If you spend something from fund balance, it's going to change. Stick with the budget. I mentioned that for the ambulance, that's just a tentative. It's a rough number. We threw it out there real quick today. It's probably a low number.
Not excessively low.
But again, we have to go back through the last few years to get a concrete number. It just takes time to do all of this.
And how do you get a concrete number?
As far as
You're choosing
the
your from?
liabilities for the compensated
There's another one.
absences,
No, 4. No, no.
if there's a pay increase or something like that, that's going to change. That will change annually. Or if what we had last year, we had some pay increases that happened after the budget was approved. Well, then those would readjust again. There's small things that could come up that would change this. But the board will just have to.
But if we stick to the
You know,
budget,
keep
it
it
shouldn't
in
be
our-
that significant increase.
Right.
Mhm.
That's a big deal. That's a big
Yep.
deal. And like today, we sat down for half an hour, went through this, made very good sense. And, in court, you have to trust, you have to trust people, and Brian's adamant that the money the figures he started with are accurate. Based on the 31st of May that just went by, he was very, very adamant that that's an accurate number, and we can use that number and take it to the bank. And so that's what this all starts from. And, just like the compensated absences, he had them on one line item for the general fund. Megan says, she goes down through again, boom, she says, that shouldn't all be from the general fund. Some of that has to come from water and sewer, because that's where the employees work at. There you go. Makes complete sense. That doesn't change the overall picture, but it does change where the money needs to come from, which is a big deal.
It's a good reason why we have checks and balances, why
That's
we
why you
have
have
a
people sit
bookkeeper
down.
and we have a clerk
Right.
and we have other people participate,
Right.
checks and balances.
We all throw our ideas
That's
in.
a big deal.
Throw our ideas in, just like the budget process, throw our ideas in, and we catch something someone else hasn't thought of.
I think the money that we set aside for compensated absences, from what I recall, which was a large figure, right, Megan?
Mm-hmm.
$400,000 or $500,000, I think
It was,
was.
what was it, 572?
518 or something.
518, and then it went up to,
Yeah.
for last year.
I think all that was committed out of the general fund. If I remember correctly, and there's 179 for the water and 83 for the sewer.
So we'll want to take a look at that resolution, and the board may just need to do a new resolution
So
as an acknowledgement.
those two amounts correctly or rightfully should come out of those two, come out of water and sewer, not out of the general.
Right.
If
Right,
I believe,
which they are.
Which they show here that.
So the resolution was basically an acknowledgement for the
it shows
board.
coming out of the, well, it shows here, when I look at it, I look at compensated absences underwater, and what I see here is that it appears as though it's coming out of water, but it's not. In reality, the commitment was out of the general fund.
Right.
For all absences, when it should have come out of the water, the sewer, and the general, and I don't think that's really what we acted on. I think it all came out of the general.
I think you may be right.
So we need to take a look at that.
Resolution, like Megan said.
Right, we should look at that resolution,
Yep.
and if that was the acknowledgement,
I believe that's what we did.
then we'll just do a new resolution.
We were incorrect in doing that.
Right idea.
And if you look at the available monies in the two accounts, there just is there's enough money in the sewer account. If you look at the 204, for the 83 for compensated absences, and there's insufficient money in the water fund to create those compensated absences funds. If you look at them,
Under this piece of paper right here?
yeah, yep,
Well, I think if I understand correctly, you would add the 26,000 to the 179, and that's what's actually in the fund right now.
Right, that's what, yeah, right.
you think so?
That's my
That
understanding.
is correct, yes.
Okay,
So then you'd be minus in the 179, which would leave you with the 26.
okay.
All
So this is a correct reflection, and where we erred is that we committed money in total out of the general fund.
Right.
Okay,
That's my understanding.
okay. I hope that's the case.
I do too.
I like that approach.
We-
I hope that is the case.
A lot of questions and a lot of
Lot of
answers,
questions.
and a lot of patience on a lot of people's parts to try to sort this through.
I had a question. The bookkeeper was in today then? Were you invited to sit in on that?
Well, I wasn't invited.
It wasn't a
he sits
scheduled
at
meeting, Dan.
he sits at a computer, putting the figures through various programs. The value, or actually the value to me, would be after completion of that, to sit down with him, and maybe that's something I need to do in the future. Yeah.
It was kind of a spontaneous thing. He had a question for me on, he wanted to make sure I understood this police uniform thing. And he was just
Yeah.
showing me these numbers and trying to help me understand why this was important to do. And of course, that led me to questions. And the questions led to more questions, which ended up with, hey, if do you have 5 minutes now to listen to this? Yeah, definitely it's that important. So we make the time, listen to the explanation, and
Yeah.
And
Well,
Brian is.
But I also want it understood that I don't want it to be taken away from the duties of the chief of police.
well, which you have,
Because that's the most important position, I feel, for our chief of police.
well, and that's why we're 55, 65, 75 hours to fit all that stuff in. Because at the end of the day, my explanation on that is the dollar can only be split so many ways. And for the police department to have the right amount of resources that it needs, it's important on my part to make sure and help to assist that the resources are divvied up in the right areas to the right degrees so that the police department does have the proper funding to do the function it has to do. If the police chief completely stayed oblivious and blind to the other functions of the village and the financing necessary for that, I could either A, be asking for too much funding from my department, which would be shorting somebody else, or I might not be persuasive enough that funding here may be needed to transfer it over to the police department so that we can perform our functions. The only way I can possibly not be asking for too much or not be asking for too little is to be educated on the process. And I do believe that I had promoted to every mayor the need for department heads to be involved in the budget process so that we're all educated, and that it should not only be the paid department heads, but it should be the volunteer department heads, so that the fire department analysts know the same things that we all know, as far as, I can't ask for this because I know it just isn't there. That education needs to go, and I also firmly believe that once that education meets the paid and volunteer department heads, we need to take it one step more. And what I would suggest is during our annual training with the employees for workplace violence and things like that, that we take a half an hour with our employees to say, this is the budget, this is how we came up with it. If any of you have ideas, suggestions, or opinions, we welcome them, because this is definitely a process where the more heads involved that are educated on the process and understand how the dollar gets split and where it gets split and why it gets split. And I can tell you, in 30 years of being here, this last budget was by far, I firmly believe, no insult to any previous administrations, mayors or board members, I have no doubt that this was the most educated budget that's ever been put in place in the 30 years I worked here. And it's because we started early and we put everybody around the table. And I think if we start earlier and put more people around the table, I think the next one can even be better. But it really requires everybody to be educated. So what might not seem like a police chief function, if you're going to do right by your department and do right by your community, we all need to have the same mindset that we all have to participate and be involved in that process. And we're all going to walk away smarter, which will make our employees more smarter, which will be word out on the street to our community members that will make them more smarter. And maybe some of this attitude, maybe we'll get some positive ideas and some positive input as well from somebody that lives and has no village connection as far as employment. And we might also cut down on some negativity when people say, how come I don't have a new sidewalk? How come my street? Or how come the cops? How come there's only one police officer and why is there not two? We can answer those questions.
Volunteers for your parks.
Yeah, they're
From an
crawling out of the
educated
woodwork.
position. So,
Okay, we're good. Thank you, Charlie.
yep.
I know you covered $100,000 in medics, but do you know specifically how much we have in that fund?
Since we started that in 2011 to current, I want to say, off the top of my head, I think it was around 300,000. 300. Do you remember I didn't bring that spreadsheet because, like I said, we threw the number together quickly. So what we have to do is go back through the last few years and take out our expenses. So that whatever it was, maybe it was 275, something like that. We estimated our expenses over the last few years for the ambulances and took that out of that balance. So this would be, money on here. This would be money that could be appropriated to the reserve.
Yeah, I know the mayor wants to be in position at the next regular meeting to act on whatever money is owed from medics to the general fund.
We've done that. We've moved all of the money that's been set a couple of months now. So that's just, I'll provide you guys with spreadsheets.
Okay. I don't know if I don't recall doing that. Did the board do that? Did we have input on it? Did we act on it?
The board has had input on the plan, what we were going to do.
Yeah.
As far as moving the funds from bank account to bank account, it's not something that needs board authorization. In the future, if they want that, they can have
If
that.
you could just tell us the amount that was transferred.
Yep,
Automatic?
I'll get you guys a spreadsheet.
Okay.
This week I plan on emailing a bunch of stuff out. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And if you could bring us up to date on your efforts to try to find another auditor.
I haven't heard back from Freed Maxick. They are doing a quote for us, so they're working as quickly as they can.
Okay, that's good.
To do that. So I understand, all of the auditing firms are busy now too. And before anyone would probably be able to get to us, it's going to put us behind the game again. You know, we're probably looking at November, anyways, for them to come out because they've already committed to many other municipalities. I reached out to Baldwin's. They were going through a staffing change, so they weren't able to quote us. And then last week, I got some names from the mayor and other auditing firms that he recalled in the area, but I haven't had the opportunity to reach out to any of them. So I just jotted those names down and...
Okay. Okay. Well, obviously, we need to be in a position to make a decision soon regarding that. I mean, we can't go without an audit. We've been there, and we're up to date now. We got to move forward and continue to do that on an annual basis. So once we have that estimate and we know what Bonadeo Group wants, then we'll probably have to make a decision at that point. You have anything else, Megan?
Bonadeo went from 1,200 to 1,800, right? Is that what that was?
10
to jump.
That was 10,000.
Jump, but I don't remember.
That sounds right, or was it 10?
10.
And then I think the additional that we were thinking was what was budgeted for the court.
Right.
Got it right? Okay. Yeah.
I think it was, thinking it went from, 10 to 15?
I think so.
10 to 15, that sound right, Dick?
Yep.
Yeah, I think close to a 50% increase.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty
And
good
they
jump.
said they needed to increase it minimum to cover their cost to complete the work. So maybe, I don't know. You know, we've had them, what, the last couple of years? Does that sound about right?
4 years.
Yeah. So, I'm sure it's been challenging for them, you know, coming in and doing the audits, but enough to
I think
merit that type of increase, I don't know. It
I
sounds...
think it's a good idea to change that around so that the auditor doesn't get complacent with the answer.
True.
And Brian had mentioned today, and this is the first time that he said this to me, if we had the opportunity to switch auditors, he would like us to do so.
Okay. Comment for you, Megan. You had put together a timeline based upon some recommendations that Bonadeo made. Mayor wanted me to ask you, what's the status of that?
Well, the current status of that is when he asked me to do it, I did it. I did a timeline that at the time I thought would be realistic. I now realize it's not realistic. It's completely
Yes.
unrealistic. I haven't looked at it since I put it together.
Okay. When you get a chance, look at it. Put some new dates or times to it.
Really, at that time, I thought, yes, we can do this,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, a lot of new priorities
Yep.
have come up, and
I would agree with you. I remember looking at that list, and what came to my
Thinking
mind
that I
was
was
that's
crazy.
pretty aggressive to accomplish all that.
so I
Given
will,
what, you
I
know.
will review that and
Yeah.
revise that.
Why don't you do that?
Okay,
And then we can share that list with everybody, and that'll be a good starting point.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Unless you have anything else, Megan?
Just to throw out there, the first month of tax collection went really well. I have under a few $1,000s left to take in. So if you do wonder, if you're trying to reach out with me and I'm not getting right back to you, it's because that's what I've been doing for the last month is taxes, payroll, the bills, the necessities, but then just the taxes. So that's going to start to wind down, and we can get back on track in the office down there. Our deputy clerk was married. I'm sure that you've all heard that. So she's been off on her honeymoon for a couple of weeks. We're really happy for her.
What is
but
Windex?
we'll be really happy to have her back on Monday. We've been missing her. What is that?
What is Windex or whatever that thing that she was drinking out there? The blue Windex or something?
I'm not sure.
You have to ask her.
Oh,
wasn't
did
a
you
blue
see it
whale?
on?
No, it was like a Windex or
I-
something.
I used to have Nigerian.
I know what a blue whale is. Don't worry about that.
I don't know.
In a Windex bottle.
She was calling it Windex on the line.
Okay. Let's move along with 20 of 10. Trustee Humphrey. I think we're your water and sewer. And Scott.
Yeah, just bypass us, go right to Scott.
What's that, Ann?
I said just bypass us, go right to Scott.
That's what I like about Scott. He always has some handouts.
You know why? Because I always do them at the. I should have poured a sidewalk today, but
Yeah, one
sidewalk's
for
done.
Where did you do the sidewalk?
On
Thank
Wilmot.
you.
I actually did the sidewalk. I needed concrete a couple other places. We still came up short, so. Anyhow,
Are these ones from last year, Scott? The sidewalks, or this year?
that one's from last year. That's the fellow that paid last year. And
Yep.
somehow he slipped through the cracks. It got marked as being completed, and whatever.
We're going to charge the new fee for the ones that come in this year, though, right?
Yeah, we don't really have any yet this year. But
Yep. I understand.
everything that was quoted is from last year.
Yep.
There's one fellow down on.
You had 4 or 5 customers from last year, right?
Yep.
You had to do.
Yep.
Yep.
The top sheet, this is the one the boys have been working on. Just to give you a quick idea what's going on with trying to replace that one hydrant on Chestnut. The little yellow dot on Nick's sheet here is that hydrant. And all those valves that are green, the valves that work. The red ones do not work. And as you can see, there's no way to shut the water off that hydrant. And the problem is, and I'm going to have the guys go out a little bit further, but I don't think it's probably going to work because we're going to be down to Pine Street pretty quick. And I know there's problems on Pine Street. That to do this, that one hydrant, I'm going to have to install 2 valves to get that area shut down. If we put 2 valves in, that's where the X, and I don't know what colors Nick did you guys. I think is there an X with a pink on?
Yep.
Okay. So the 2 X's is where we would have to install 2 valves. The problem is we can't install those valves under pressure, but there's guys that can. The problem being they're $3,500 a piece. So just to do that one hydrant, it's going to cost me $7,000 just to be able to shut the water off. If I go that route, I got $20,000 in my valve budget. Where am I going, guys? Just to show you, how bad it is out there. This kind of gives you a quick idea. Just to do one measly little hydrant, this is what it turned into be. It's not fun.
No other options.
No other option.
Okay.
The boys have been out there for a week, Nick and Matt, turning valves and trying to get this thing shut down. And this is where they're at today.
So they're turning the valves, but nothing's shutting off.
They
Nothing's
don't
working.
shut off. Or they leak so bad the water just blows right up out of the ground when you exercise them. That's how bad the stems. I mean, these things are 100 years old.
Yeah.
Or more. Well, they're 120 years old. Some were back in 1896 or whatever, 1900s. I mean, they're old. They definitely served their purpose, And let's be frank, they weren't exercised over the years.
Right.
And I can see why. When you go out and turn them, it's not fun. But if something happens on one of those streets, we got a serious issue on our hands. We can't shut them down.
Right.
And when the water's flowing out of there full bore, it's not pleasant to try to fix something. It's dangerous, very dangerous. So my goal has been to try to just work on blocks, like this block, this area. Once we install a couple, okay, we'll have that one. And you can see at the top, look it up on Highland, there's 3 valves, Liberty and Leonard, and the top of Chestnut that do not work. But I don't have the money to fix those. We'll be able to maybe work on those, like the one at the top of Chestnut, where you turn on to Highland. That one I would like to get in. That's an important valve. But, there's a lot of other valves in the community. My goal is to do the whole village, get it all GPSed, and then give you a sheet with all these pinks on here. Here you go, guys. This is where we're at. That's my goal. But it takes time. It takes a lot of time. I've got, right now, there's a water main leaking down by the school, across from the bus garage. That's a brand new main that they put in. That's that 10-inch main that feeds the industrial park.
Mm-hmm.
It's leaking. I don't know what's wrong. We got to dig it up and find out. But there's another day out of your schedule. The crew. We shouldn't be there. It's a brand new line. Why is it leaking? I have no idea. There'll be something failed, whatever. But we're stuck with it. We can't work on our 100-year-old system. We got to get out and fix something that was 10 years old. It's ridiculous. But anyhow, that's where we're at with that. So, Mrs. Hedrick's going to have to wait just so long. It does work. The hydrant flows water. It just leaks. And in the wintertime is when the issue is, because you can't shut it off and it freezes and then it does not work because it's frozen. So that's the issue with that hydrant. So I probably will bite the bullet and spend the money, but it doesn't leave me a whole lot of money in my budget to do a lot. But it will allow me to change that hydrant, and if I want to fix another valve, now we can fix the valve ourselves for $500, $600. That's the difference.
As long as you can get it shut down in that area.
Yep. So that's what the poor water department's up against. The next sheet down is the streets that we thought. I sent these out to you guys so you had a chance to look at them. I think my suggestion now is maybe to do North Clinton. That's really bad. Do Liberty and Leonard, and maybe hold off at that. That's around $100,000. Maybe mill and fill those now, and then kind of play it by ear and see where we go. I did look at the parking lot out here, right out here by the video store. To do that section, that's about $18,000 to do that section. And it's in very bad shape. I think we really need to, I know the streets are bad too, but I think we need to start on these parking lots a little bit too each year because our parking lots are in bad shape. But again, I'll throw the numbers out, you guys make the decisions, doesn't matter to me. But at the end of the day, we got $75,000 to spend, so that's what we're up against.
Did you ever, go ahead, no, it's your,
Scott, on Leonard Street,
Yep,
it said lower. How,
just the lower section, yeah, the upper section's not bad.
okay,
so from like, would you go Cottage down?
Cottage down to Elizabeth.
To Elizabeth.
Yep.
And Liberty would be probably Cottage to Elizabeth again?
Same. Yeah, they're both.
And North
The uppers are too bad. I mean, you know.
Did you ever, I know that we have thrown this around a bunch, did you ever look into what the cost of Knox Street would be? Did you ever run those numbers?
To do the whole project?
Yes.
No, I have not. I didn't think it was really worth my effort at this point in time. I want to do it. I got to drop a set of prints off to Chris Ramsey. They're going to figure what it costs for have those guys do it. I'll figure what's going to cost for. And you guys at least see that and understand, hey, it does save a lot of money when you do it yourself.
Now,
You need to see that.
rough estimate,
We were looking.
Knox Street,
rough,
what do you think?
probably could do that street easily for $100,000.
that's
Everything.
water, sewer, and everything.
Sidewalk.
How much,
I seem to remember a $600,000 figure for Knox, Quay, that whole.
That was that grant.
Yeah.
The grant
That was
was
a
a
$600,000
That's gonna
$600,000
happen
grant
lots
that
of
we're
those
trying to
people.
We
get.
have never put a price on all three streets.
Right.
We do them all.
Yeah, but that was the grant we're trying to get was $600,000.
Right. And we just got another email that we're probably not eligible.
No.
now, how much,
That's what they say. Until you apply for it, how do you know? But
how
that's
much
what-
of the CHIPS money could we use towards that $100,000?
For
all
Knox
of it if you want?
So if we took the CHIPS
We
money,
can take the CHIPS money, we can do anything with the CHIPS money as long as it has a 10-year life expectancy. So I can buy equipment with that. I can go buy a new loader. I can buy a new dump truck. I mean, you can drainage. You can pretty much do whatever you want with the CHIPS money as long as, equipment, you basically just submit a voucher to them, they'll approve it, and pay for it.
is there a way you can hold CHIPS money over for a year?
You just don't spend it.
Yeah.
So, would there be a way to, and we got about $175,000 worth of
Well,
CHIPS money.
we have about 100 and I think 10 to 15 of CHIPS. The rest is in our regular budget.
Okay. So, would there be a way to maybe save out $80,000 out of it still? And then take $80,000 out of CHIPS money next year, and there's $160,000 to say Quay Street could be done with what we actually have in the budgets, and still be able to maintain the village to some sort of a level to get us through a couple of years. 'Cause
I'll tell you what our problem is. They paved all these streets at once. We're still paying on.
yeah, for a couple more years.
They did a massive, they just, before they used oil and stone, they just paved over everything. Well, you know what happens when you pave them all at the same time? It's kind of like Jerry's ambulance. We're going to pay the piper. Everything's failing at the same time.
And some of those streets are right down to the
Yeah,
to the gravel.
streets that I thought would go 5 years, now it's failed. Look at Clinton, North Clinton. That's bad. Really bad. So, yeah, it sounds great, Danny, that we can save that money, but what are you going to go? I have people calling me about Leonard all the time. When are you going to fix Leonard?
Leonard and Liberty both.
They're both bad.
Well, you said adding in the video store, Leonard, Liberty, and North Clinton would be
About
24.
120 grand.
Huh?
About 120 grand.
That would save us about 60 grand still left to go. And then if we can somehow next year, if we can get through the rest of this year with just patching and doing what we can, and we can do half these streets again next year, that means Quay Street, or that means Knox Street's on the table to get done, right?
If you want to hold off on some of these others, yeah.
Well, do you think it's possible? You're the expert here.
Well, there's no expert here. You guys see the streets, you drive on them too.
But
It's how
you know
long
better
can you
than we
put
do.
off a street that's in bad shape? Just like Knox Street, it's in bad shape. I still say there's got to be some grant. I still say we go for the $600,000 grant. Even if it costs us $5,000 to go apply for it. We get turned down, we get turned down. We'll do it again. Sooner or later, we're going to get it. If you don't apply, you're never going to get it. There's need over there. I can't
Huge
believe we
need.
can't get a grant. I think we need a different
You
grant.
said you didn't
That's
think
what I
you're
think.
eligible for it, though?
I think if it was structured properly, I don't think we have enough time now. I think we've waited so long, talked about it.
Was that something that Bill is working on, though?
Well, he's going to be here next week, and we need to have that conversation. He's going to say that,
2 weeks.
he'll be here next week for the meeting. Next Tuesday's meeting.
GCC.
Yeah.
Oh, GCC, okay,
He'll
yeah.
be
Okay, so I'm going to say.
probably participating.
So, we can run it by him. I don't feel we apply for enough grants here. I think there's money out
Yeah, I
there.
mean, even the fire department comes in today, they get $184,000.
I mean, there's grants from Megan just sent me one today. There for water. There's what was that, 150 million? But I'm sure it's I don't know until we look into it. But it's probably 0% money or whatever. I don't know. But we need to look into that, no matter what it is, because at the end of the day, it's money to do these projects.
For what it's worth, let's say how the chips is 120, what we budgeted. And
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be 120. I haven't got my numbers yet. It's probably going to be because I don't know if they're going to add those streets in this year. I don't think they are, but it'll be probably 115 range.
I don't know, just a thought that I had, because Knox Street is really, to me, is a concern. It's a main thoroughfare that goes down to that, the hospital. You can't tell someone, well, drive around and go down go down Clare Park. You just can't.
Well, I think we need to go over really and basically put a wall patch on it. Take the paver and go down through, and it's a temporary fix. Buy us a.
Well, what's that going to do to say to the people down on Knox Street when they say, you put the poles over here?
That's a whole nother discussion. That's a whole nother. We need to deal with that too. Are we going to make it a one-way street? Are we going to change the sidewalks? What are we going to do with that issue? Because that is a
I
whole
thought you had
nother
that
issue.
in a proposal.
Yeah, I think that's
Pardon?
Thought you had that all set in a proposal.
I have it all set and the prints are done. I think it's crazy that we change. I'm sorry. The sidewalk is meant to be on this side of the street. We need to go to one sidewalk on these streets, not two. It's impossible to maintain sidewalks on both sides. Put a nice 5-foot wide sidewalk, 2 people can walk down,
Yeah.
because we can make a nice loop right down through that, right through our park, make a nice walking trail for people. We don't need 2 sidewalks on Knox Street. I'm sorry. We need a wider street.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be one way. And I think that
No.
Chief agrees with me.
I agree that we shouldn't, I definitely agree, it's bad community development to have dead ends and one-way streets. Nothing good comes from that, and usually the biggest violators on a one-way street are the people who live on it. So I'm definitely against one-way street, and I do think, and we've talked about it numerous times, that we have to start looking at some of these streets as sidewalks on only one side.
I'd like to see a sidewalk be able to get us to Babcock Park. It's our most active park that we have.
There's nothing down
And
there.
there is no sidewalk that a kid can walk on to get to Babcock Park on any street. There is not a sidewalk on any street. Livingston Boulevard, any of them, that a kid can walk on the sidewalk to get to our most active park.
Dangerous down through there.
You ain't kidding, and I've said it for years. I said, we need a sidewalk to get you to Babcock Park. You cannot, any street can get you to Babcock Park.
Always until,
And so I'd like that at some point addressed, because I know that it stops 2 houses shy. I'd love to be able to spit the concrete in there and finish the sidewalk to Babcock Park, so you can actually stay on a sidewalk in our village
With the
to our
businesses,
most
though, too.
active park that we have.
I'll tell you another place that's bad is right down by McDonald's. The spot right down there, I tried to get the developer to pay for that stretch across. He won't. It was like $1,400.
Yeah.
He wouldn't pay. I drove up through there tonight, guys coming down through the wheelchair, clanging and banging down through. It's crazy.
Grayson and I walked up to McDonald's the other day and told him you got to stay. I was
It's
telling him you got to
nuts.
stay on the sidewalk, so he was out in the road,
Yeah.
or on the shoulder.
It's a
and
dangerous
He kept
street.
pulling my hand, and it's like, no, that's not the sidewalk.
But
And
but it's
and that's
easier
going to
walking.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
That's going to McDonald's. I mean, we're talking about our most active
But no, what I'm saying
sports
is
park
even,
that we have.
even the businesses, it wasn't until Rogers and Tenbrook put that sidewalk a little bit in there. I mean, that's a main,
That's the main
to
drive.
Tops and
Yeah.
to Tractor Supply and all that for older folks to, so I mean, that got done, that's perfect. But then, like you say, once you got to the old entrance to the old Ames or
Yeah.
Tractor Supply, there's nothing there.
That's why it's important, I'm not picking on it, I'm just saying that's why it's important for everybody to be involved in this, to toss in your ideas, and then importantly is to toss in how we're going to pay for these things and make sure we're dividing the dollar up in the right direction. You know, so everything plays on everything else. Public safety plays on DPW, code plays on fire, ambulance plays on DPW, and vice versa, and back and forth, to get all these things addressed.
Scott, you don't think, Knox, how much did you say to Band-Aid it? You think?
Oh, I don't know, probably, I'm just trying to figure out maybe $4 or $5 grand just to pull some asphalt down through there in those really bad spots. But the drainage at the bottom, I was gonna fix the drainage. And that's an issue right now because someplace they cut the pipe off from, well, some by Jay Griffiths, somewhere into that area, it doesn't drain. So that whole street floods. It flooded bad this last time it rained.
Right.
You know, that was all in this to do Knox Street. And quite frankly, I mean, the fire truck came into play, and that pretty much put Knox Street out of the park, which is fine. I'm glad we paid for the fire truck, trust me. I think it was the right thing to do. But I think Knox Street would have been done. And, a lot of issues would have been solved.
I think we put a plan together on Knox Street, proposals, get all that together.
Yeah.
And that's our
Goal.
That's our Christmas present to the village taxpayers, if you want to put lack for a better term, and it's done. It's,
But we still need to address the folks over there, and,
you know, I don't
Which
think
way
it
we
should
wanna
be-
go?
I don't think it should be a one-way street.
No, I don't either.
No.
Because all you're going to do is you're going to put more traffic back up on the other streets that are still in bad shape. And if the grant doesn't come in and we can't do them all, we're going to piecemeal one, and then we're going to do the next. I think a two-way with a sidewalk on one side, and if that means we got to move the Little League field fence in and make it a green mountain or whatever out there.
the Little League fence just on the one side, I think you had to move maybe a foot, just a few of the posts out there. And you still get a 5-foot sidewalk there.
And that's the side it should be on.
What size is the sidewalks on Lower Main
Absolutely.
Street?
Pardon?
By my house, is that a 3-foot sidewalk?
No, I think that's a 5 down there too. That might be a 4, I can't remember what the
Yeah, it's
state-
not 5. I think a 4
It's a
foot's just
4
plenty
then.
fine. I mean, I don't think that needs to be any bigger than anyone else. I mean, we set a precedence putting a 5-foot sidewalk. If we go to one side, we set a precedence that the next street that we go one side, we're going to put a 5-foot sidewalk down. I think you go with a 4, the average of whatever Main Street is. It's a perfect sidewalk. Me and my wife can walk through
I
there.
think it's a little wider than 4 though on Main. I'd have to go measure it, I can't tell you.
Yeah, I know.
4 or 6 maybe.
I couldn't do it last year. But I just want to express my desire to try to do something with Knox Street without spending too much money this year. I mean, if we got to do what we got to do, but Knox Street's a pretty big deal to me.
I think
Well, the thing of it is that you put a Band-Aid on it, you're just putting good money after bad, you know. It's-
But is it going to last through the winter? And
Oh, you patch it, will.
I agree with with that Band-Aid thing,
Yeah.
but what are the other options?
There really is no other option, we have to patch it up.
In the season, that degree of a project is too late in the season to get that completed.
Now,
No,
this
we
year
can't.
yet.
So
No.
now it's just a matter of,
Well, I'm not saying, well, you could do it. You guys want to put the money out there, I'll get it done. But something else is not going to get done. Let me tell you.
Overtime, big time to get it done this year.
Hey, we didn't go over, you look at our budget, we didn't go over overtime last year. We did a lot of work. We did a lot of overtime last year.
No,
Does
to
that
get
include all
Knox
the-
Street done this year, it
Does
was
that
crazy.
include all the compensate or the money that went into comp time? Are all them hours factored into the overtime budget?
No, not that part. Well, she takes it up
I
now.
haven't given Scott the number yet. I didn't do the differences today. Ran out of time.
But most of my guys
Tomorrow.
gave me really,
Yeah,
they,
we'll check
comp
it.
time,
Because they're all maxed out.
well, they use it. I mean, Matt will take off 3 weeks and go on, but he's earned it and he uses it. So I think it's a great thing for the village myself, you know? They're here when you need them and take the time off. You're not paying them time and a half, that's why I look at it.
No, I just look at, I know that with people who are ready for retirement, they have 500 hours. That's a big,
Well, they've been here a long time too.
Yeah.
But you look at most of the guys, they don't have a whole lot of time in their bank. They use it up. So anyhow, I
So
guess.
what are we going to do with the streets? You take the top 3 now instead of the top 10, or?
I just try to look at it, if, I don't even know if I can do that in a day, but to mill those streets all in a day, that's really going to be pushing it. You might be able to do it. That's why I look at it. I got to spend $4 or $5 grand for a mill. I can't, it's hard to move a mill from, North Clinton to Washington and to Greenmount.
Keep
You know?
it as close as you can.
Yeah, I try to keep, you know,
Right.
it seems like we're focusing on that side of the village again, but
Yeah, I see that.
Well,
Well,
there's some on your side on here, Dick. You're a board member. You tell me what you want to do.
well, I know that
Oh,
the
no.
mayor had expressed
Not
some
the middle
interest
of
towards
Washington.
Austin Street, but as I was stating before,
Well, let's
There's 4
not
houses.
decide on this because Austin's down underneath here. We need to talk about Austin too.
well, let's not decide yet then.
No, I don't think we should. I think that's why I sent this out early so everybody could look at it. Look at the streets, you know, drive down them. I think we wait till the next meeting at this point. When Pete's here.
Do we have to pick all of them that we want to do this year now? I
We
mean, it looks
should.
like we're in agreement
Yeah.
with North Clinton, Liberty, and Leonard. I mean,
Go ahead and do those and
And the
There's
video
3.
store you
Well,
said needs
well,
some
the thing of it
attention.
is, if you do Park Ave, Liberty, and Leonard.
I didn't really
that's
see
all
Park
right in
Ave to
the-
be too
in the
bad.
same
No, I don't
area.
have Park Ave on there. I have that on hold. Dick.
Oh,
Park
okay,
Ave.
that, yeah,
Okay.
okay, I see that.
Oh, I was looking at the old.
I was thinking about maybe just oil and stone, but that's even expensive.
Yeah,
And I'm not really an oil and stone fan, but it might buy us some time.
yeah.
Well, you know, the mayor, he put out an email, and he hit real heavy Austin, but he also had Quay at the Adams Bend, and Earl Drive, and West Jefferson Extension.
Yeah.
Well, again, we could spend some money patching those streets. I think we're going to have to.
But when you're looking at those dollars
Yeah.
that you can put off to the side, Earl Drive, how much really traffic does that get?
There's 1,
You know,
2, 3,
the people that
Well, I know.
5.
Well, I'm just saying, the
No, I
people that
know.
live there, and I'm not
8
detracting from them
houses.
that they don't need a good street to travel, to traverse on back and forth,
Right, but it's only
with
8
all the other stuff and focusing on Knox Street next year, I think that's what.
Knox Street's got to get done.
You know, Knox has got to get done, and I looked at them.
I think.
And I agree with Scott, you know, it was Liberty, North Clinton, I kind of numbered them. And Quay at the Adams, or at the Bend intersection.
From a public safety standpoint, the streets I recognize are Liberty. I don't necessarily recognize the whole thing, but I know at Mike Bradley's house, it gets bad. Sophia and West Liberty, or Sophia and Liberty Street intersection, Mike Bradley's house, King Cleveland's old house.
And Ken was going to say,
that's
like Ken
bad.
Cleveland's.
Down where you guys just did some water work, or that's bad. And then in front of 4 Liberty Street between Elizabeth and Main, that's bad. Now, I don't know that it's practical to skip.
I looked at it, Charlie,
I don't know
and,
if
you
that's
know,
practical, or I don't know nothing about
Yeah.
that.
Then you got 2 years later, you got these other spots. And it's just,
It looks
you know,
like
it looks like you're really half-assing it. I mean,
looks like shit. I think
yeah,
if you're going to do it, do it.
I'd say if you're going to do that, just let it go a few more years, patch it up, and then do the whole thing. You know, but
'Cause I
for
think-
what little bit extra it takes, just take the mill right on down through, and yeah, you're going to save a little money. There's a spot on actually on North
But
Clinton.
long term, you're not going to save money because you got to come back and then you're going to be doing.
Hit the spot
It's going to
you
look
didn't
like
get the first
you're
time.
going to like hopscotch going down through there by the
That
time
makes
it's done.
Yep, I totally agree with that.
Scott, I think the best approach is when the mayor gets back, that you meet with the mayor. You know how much money you have to work with. You put the list together, your recommendation. That's going to utilize the funds that are available and put them in front of us.
Along the way, recognizing that if we can save some money out to put towards doing the project on Knox Street next year, would be awesome.
Well, what do you guys think about the parking lot out here?
All that's the other.
That's another
too, is
question.
I think we should address that too.
I'd say I'd like to see that parking lot taken care of.
I mean, this side here, and the whole parking lot needs it,
Yeah,
but this side here is very, very bad.
But you said 18 grand on that, correct?
And that would be just a blacktop.
I was going to say,
We
is
would
that
just-
mill and fill or just surface?
No, we would just shoot that with oil,
It's just surface.
right.
fix the bad spots, and then top it.
Well, again, I agree with Mr. LeVar, but keep in the back of your mind that we do want Knox, and if we can save some money out to carry, I would love to see Knox Street be a project that we handle next year. And if we can save some money this year and apply it with some money next year, we have some balances left over out of the budget. If we stick with the budget, there's going to be some monies there. I would love to see us be able to do that.
It would be like the fire truck, it's paid for.
I think we could take a look at the available fund balance and maybe set aside $50,000 from the fund balance. Last year, we approved using $50,000 from the fund balance, in addition to what was budgeted and the CHIPS money to utilize on our highways because we needed that. But we could set aside this year $50,000 from fund balance, utilize the CHIPS money and what we have budgeted, and set that aside for use for Knox Street.
What if something happens between now and then and that fund balance isn't there? We're still.
Well, that's always a possibility.
What are we doing Knox Street then?
But I want.
We're not establishing an official
Yeah,
fund.
yeah.
We're setting
Well,
aside with the idea that the money is going to be there and be available. But if we have to use it on an emergency basis, we'll use it.
Yeah.
But I agree. I can see your point, but I also agree that the PD, in my estimation, is low on manpower, and I think that that's something that we need to be addressing with our fund balance as well in the upcoming year. There is a very desired need for additional personnel down there. Very much.
And I appreciate that thought, and what I'll offer is, we heard earlier that $600,000 is the targeted fund balance. We don't have that yet. So I
We
don't
may
think-
never.
Well, we can, but we can't get there. That 20% should be, in a perfect world, and we should be aiming for that, and I don't think it's impossible to hit that. We should have that now, and we can have that next year, but we can't have it next year by spending it now. We should-
Exactly. That's why I would like to put the CHIPS money aside.
Put it to the side.
I'd like the CHIPS money put aside because some of these other streets, if we can pass them up this year, maybe next year with these are some of we take off these top 3, maybe do the video store. That should leave us right around 50,000, correct? 40 to 50,000. There's 40 to 50,000. We're halfway there. If we can do a Knox Street for 100 next year, we can take. These aren't going to change, but we can take Leonard off, we can take Liberty off, we can take North Clinton, we can take home video off, and then we can still throw in 3 to 4 more streets. And then the following year is the year that we're done paying on the 10-year ban from when we decided to do all the streets at once. That year then, our ban money is going to be available.
There's not a whole lot left to pay on that street paving. I can't tell you.
No, but it's there. But
It's
it
not.
would add some money to,
Oh, yeah, it would.
to doing a couple extra streets to try to keep us going. But, I mean, that's just my 2 cents.
No, I agree, and the other thing is that what a difference it makes, I would think, to the taxpayers when they see a street redone, like Knox Street, after they've traversed it back and forth, and it's all chopped up and bumping around like you're on a Model A Ford, and then you've got the parking lot over here, that we get that fixed. You know, people actually see something, and then maybe it's not so bad. They're going to look at that and say,
They're trying.
they're
doing
trying.
something.
Exactly.
And pay cash.
And they're paying cash.
And they're paid cash. And I tell you, that is huge because we
That's
can't
huge,
add
because
debt
then
to
when
this village.
Right, because then when they
It's
look
killing
at the
us.
water bills, they'll say, holy crap, maybe it's a little, we can't do anything about it now. It's going to happen in another
Just-
month or so, or whatever, but when they see the stuff that's progression,
Okay, well, let's.
Yeah.
I've been listening to you, and here's my thoughts on it. Scott, why don't you put together your recommendation based upon the money we have available in the budget and CHIPS money, and then put together your recommendation with holding back $50,000 of the CHIPS money. So put those two, if you prepare those two and have it for us to look at.
Well, it'll be North Clinton, then Liberty and Leonard,
Okay.
And the videos.
and possibly the video store.
I would
So
say.
I like
just
it.
highlight it
I like
on your
that.
sheet.
I like it.
I can put it on another sheet if you'd like. That's fine.
I mean, are we going to apply for the grant money, reapply for it?
That's something that we'll have to find out next week, and we'll have time before the next meeting, before you guys vote on
Right.
this. So
I mean, if we're going to reapply for that.
I'll
There's
get
no guarantees, though.
No, I understand that. I know there's no
No.
guarantees, but
If you don't apply, you ain't gonna get it anyway.
again, you know, as I look at it, what I see in the village is a need to do a lot on these streets. And I don't disagree with you. Like you see it, I don't disagree with your approach at all, your mindset and your thinking behind it. But I'm not sure that, in my mind, I'm in agreement that we can hold back $50,000, given the condition a lot of these streets are in.
And I appreciate that, but you explain.
I'm not making my mind up. I'm
I
just
know, but I'm saying
expressing
you
an-
go out and explain that to
expressing an
someone living
opinion, that's all.
on Lower Elizabeth Street, and then you go explain that to someone living on Knox Street, where they're in a 4-wheel drive to get home, and these guys are still.
Well, I know how
have
Knox
some-
Street is. I've been up and down that. It's terrible. We all
Yep.
recognize that in agreement, and I think we all recognize there's something permanent needs to be done. Not a
especially if
Band-Aid.
the sewer collapses.
And we're not going to get there unless either we get a grant, we go in debt, or we do what you're suggesting.
And that 50 grand, let's say we hold it over, and next year that grant comes through, man, we're sitting pretty then, because we got 50
Absolutely.
grand to
It's a
add to
win-win.
that, and we can just start knocking streets off again.
With
You
the
know-
infrastructure underneath it.
You know, you can still do Knox Street because you got that, but now we got 50 grand extra to add in. So the next let's say next year we got 180, but we really got 230. Well, 230 will finish everything on this wish list, bring us at least get
Well,
this taken.
you also have to remember that, there's water and sewer on that street, so that'll come out of those funds. So 100 grand for everything, maybe, I don't know where, I'm throwing numbers out that I shouldn't be throwing out. But,
No, we understand.
say it's going to cost, say, 60 out of the general for, blacktop and whatever. That's not a very big street. So those, so I think if you set a goal at, say, 75,000, you have plenty of money to do Knox Street out of the general. Right now the water doesn't look too pretty. If we don't raise the rates, it won't be pretty. Sewer looks okay. Because we put, I can't remember the number of what it was, but I think 500 and some thousand to cover the debt payment on the plant. And it's going to be much less than that, so there'll be some extra money there, hopefully. So, with all the grants and everything else we have coming in.
What else
So-
you got here, Scott?
Okay, the next one is the Perkinsville well. I've had the fellow out like 3 times from Chester, and I have a lot of faith in this fellow. There's a little letter that he put together. You guys don't even have to read it tonight. It's basically, MRB is suggesting, if you come down on the first sheet where it says 4-inch Singer valve, and you see where it says the 2980, and then underneath it the 6900. You guys follow that?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, that $7,000 or that $6,900 is money that MRB says that we should spend. I totally disagree. This guy disagrees, Rick disagrees. So that's in your hands. And I know if you ask Bill, Bill's going to back up his engineer, which he should. Okay? But if you read the guy's explanation, and he's right, this is a gravity system going down over the hill. They usually put this in when it's the opposite, when you're going up a hill, and the water stops, it comes racing back. We don't have that situation here. This is the Cadillac. Again, MRB does a fine job, but as far as I'm concerned, from what I see, they over-engineer a lot of things, and we pay for it. I'm not saying I want to do away with MRB because the next guys are the same way. I've talked to municipality after municipality, and that's the way engineering is. But I would totally suggest that we do not spend that $7,000, and this gentleman does also. Now, we can piecemeal this thing. There needs to be some electrical upgrades. We can kind of get through the year here a little. I mean, I'm willing to put this off. I guess what I'm asking you guys is to take my recommendation. This guy that works for Kester, and that's all he's done is valves his whole life. This guy knows his business. And that we don't spend that extra $7,000. I think it's crazy. Why buy the Cadillac when the Impala will do? And, worst case scenario, that's just about what we had to spend last time when we had an issue up there. So I say we're gambling. Something happens, something fails, the world explodes, and I guess we're going to have to spend the $7,000 later. But I don't see it ever happening. With what this guy has designed, and he's put some extra relief valves in and things in. So, but we're going to have to bite the bullet sooner or later and do these upgrades because that tank is failing fast.
So, Scott, you're looking at option number 2 on the right-hand side of the sheet, right?
Right. Just
And
the
then-
valve itself.
And then you get down to, at the valve outbuilding near the water plant we replaced, and you're looking at 2987, and then you can just go down
Right, and add them up.
and add them up. Okay.
And then we would do the labor. I mean, we're still going to spend, I mean, I didn't really have the grand total now, because the electric is kind of up in the air right now. I've got to meet with NISAC, they want to do some other changes. The cans and everything that they have outside, they're all shot, the service is shot.
Between $11,000 and $12,000,
Well, totally, that was just for the electrical upgrade.
just for what's on here.
Yeah, and then the electrical upgrade is going to be probably another 11 or 12 grand. So
Okay.
you're probably talking $25,000 here to do the whole job. And by the looks of that fund balance, it kind of scares me. So, we're going to have to do what we can do to get by. You need to do part of it now and part of it later, until we see some revenues come in. So that really doesn't need a vote right now, I guess. I mean, I would like to start moving forward on parts of it, but I got to find a way to take it out of the budget, this year's budget, without dipping into any fund balance, because that's what we were talking about before. So do I move money from hydrants or something else to cover this?
You need money in hydrants because you're going to money in hydrants if you have to have the people come in to do the to put in the
Well, I have
valves.
valve line item and I have hydrant. There's 20, I think, in each. So it's 40 grand there. So.
Yeah, you got about, 30 or 40 hydrants that need replacement or work on them, right?
But
Yeah, sir.
that's
I
more
understand.
important. Well, I shouldn't say important. They're all important, very important.
Yeah.
But right now, all the hydrants are working. I mean, you can get water out of them.
What about wintertime?
No, they're still working.
Okay.
Just some turn very, very hard. And maybe when there's a fire, maybe they won't work. That's the issue there. But, so that's that. The next one is that little lawnmower that I talked about at the plant. That's been approved by EFC. And just to throw it in perspective, out of the plant costs us about $250 a year to pay for this. That's over 30 years, but naturally wouldn't keep it that long. I would recommend like that tractor, that these tractors at auction bring almost the same money as we pay for them. I would say keep it a couple of years, and that's what we need to do with our little tractors, just rotate them. That's what all the municipalities are doing. You go to these auctions, there'll be 100 of these things sitting there, and they bring a world of money because we get the discount on them. I mean, you see what we get, $1,500 discount.
Mm-hmm.
If you take care of them, they look brand new and they're sitting there, and you get all your money back and you go get another one. But that's for the plant. That comes out of the plant money. So that I would like to vote on next meeting.
We talked one time about the different mowers, because there's a mower up at the water treatment plant. And then is there a mower down there now, down at the wastewater?
No, they're going down now, running down and mowing it.
How long is it taking them to mow it?
When we get done, probably, I don't know, a couple hours maybe. There's a lot to take care of.
Is that something that could be handled with what we have now?
Well, I look at it this way. You get the government to give you a 0% loan on your car for the next 30 years, would you do it? I would.
No.
I would.
Only because I want to have that car for the next 30 years.
But
So I'm
if you do it right and you keep rotating it, you'll still have that brand new lawnmower when it comes time. And you don't have to fix them, repair them, do anything. Kind of like you do with the loaders.
Right.
It's a no-brainer. If you can trade that lawnmower, even if it costs you $500 for a year, why would you not do that? I mean, you do it every 2 years. It's not really feasible anymore. But
But that would be the plan, would be to trade, swap it out.
I would like to do that with all of our little mowers. I've done that with a bigger John Deere tractor. I didn't do it this year. I probably should have. And you get all your money back. You got a brand new machine. Kind of like I do with the skid steer and the little mini excavator. Or you'd be like Jerry and you run it into the ground. Now 10 years later, you got no money. You can't pay for it. You run new equipment. You run it. You don't have to worry about it breaking down. You have plenty of money, and it doesn't cost you much. Because the municipalities buy them cheap. As long as you can cash them in and do that, you're nuts not to. It's a lot of work on my part to do that. Clean them up, get them to the auction. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it at the end of the day. The next one is the chippers. I told Robin last night, I sure wish I had a chipper. We started composting at the plant. I've hauled chips from everywhere I can steal chips, and let me tell you, we need chips bad. And there's a lot of trimming to do in this village. And quite frankly, I don't have a lot of money in my budget. We need to do a lot of that work ourselves. I mean, I've hired that done the last couple of years since I've been here. I think there's $14,000 in my budget. It doesn't take long to go through that. A chipper rental just for a day is $500 if I have one brought in. That's a guy comes with it, okay, with a chipper, and then they bring their truck. To buy the one chipper, the cheapest, the quote I have is $44,000. And remember, half of that's paid for by the government, state, whatever you want to say. That's on the composting side. That's the 50% matching grant for this chipper. So we pay half, $22,000. I figured that out. That's $700 a year for that to have it. Now I agree with you, Danny. With that, might be a different story. That you probably keep for 20 years. So that'll be here. That'll last. They last a long time. Those chippers. You're not going to trade that off every couple of years and get a new one because you can't do it. It's not going to happen. That's also been approved by ESC. This was actually put in the original grant when we did it. There's a truck in here and this and a broom for the loader to sweep up down there and things. So, and they're all good chippers. I don't know why the one is. I went through them. I really can't see a big difference. One's $54,000, one's $44,000. It's $10,000. I mean, I don't need $54,000. I can tell you that. The other one's a brush bandit. That's a good chipper. Actually, Benny Green has one of them. This Niagara Frontier, where it's coming from, is a good, reputable dealer. So, parts and things like that down the road will be plentiful. So, what's that, Dan?
It's the Morax Beaver.
Only you can.
That's a good one.
I was waiting. I was waiting.
So anyhow, that's for a vote, I guess. And then the last one is the proposal for Austin Street. You guys can read through this. It's pretty much MRB's proposal is water and sewer, basically from health to just about to where, well, let's say to the extension. That would be the scope of their work. The drainage system, I can handle the drainage part of it. I have some ideas for that. I'm going to try to get an easement from Krogi and do a little work over on the left-hand side, right above Sue Seiler's, to kind of put a little retention pond there to slow that water down. That's $6,700 to do that. But again, I would like to get this on the shelf, kind of like we have Knox Street. What's really nice about that is all of a sudden the government releases some money and we got prints for something, we're ready to go. It's always smart to have 2 or 3 on the shelf if you can, because grants do come
in your
available.
budget to cover the $6,700.
Yeah. And then Bruce Bach underneath. Bruce would have to do all the elevations and everything for MRB. And his price is $1,450. So.
Now you got that budgeted and you
Yep.
get your thing?
Yep. So you guys would have to, any questions, you read through this. But I'd like to put that up to a vote. I really think it would be prudent to get that rolling, because it all takes time. That's a 3, 4, 5 months time to get your permits and everything else.
I think it's a good policy, and I don't know why we haven't discussed this in the past, that as we have purchasing opportunities put in front of us to provide us with
Where the money's coming from?
where money's coming from.
We can do that.
Yep. And this would apply to you and any other department, because we sit here and we talk about, what line item or items, is the money going to come from? And if you have put some thought into this, spent the time, I don't mean put some thought into it, and provide us with that, then that would provide us with information, and we wouldn't have to have maybe the discussion every time. I mean, we might have a discussion, but at least that'd be a good starting point.
So I wouldn't have to ask the question.
Oh, there'll still be questions.
Oh, the question of is it in your budget?
Well, yeah, maybe.
Scott knows it's coming.
Yes.
Just
yeah.
prove it. This just
How many
proves
times
it.
did it? How
I'm
many
just going
times
to
did
give
you
you a
ask
white
that to them?
flag like you do at the auctions.
We're trying to stay within a budget.
I know. No, that's good.
Yeah.
No.
And then,
Charlie's over there going, where in your budget is that coming from?
Correct. This time of the year it's easy, but towards the end of the year it gets harder.
Well, that's when you start seeing less proposals. Remember that there was a thawing machine that we discussed a long time ago.
Still on my table down here.
And I think that that was a very good idea. And I know that we talked whether it would be shared services, but I don't want to wait until it's too late,
Do we need it again?
till we need it, or till we spend another $2,500 this year when we could have just bought it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to take, we should have some sort of a strategic plan on what it is that we want, like our wish list. And I agree, I mean, we need some of these things and we need them. But we hear, like, the things that we need, and then it's like we hear them, but we never act on them.
Yeah.
We never get them. And then they go off the table and we forget about them. But then, things pop up, and these are items that I think that we should, if we have them in the budget and we can get them, we get them when we've got them. When we got them. You understand what I'm saying, Scott?
Yes, I do.
Because that is something that would be very good for us to have next year. I mean, that's just one of the items that is bouncing off, because we see these things. Every time you come in, I see with a pen of paper, I'm like, oh. But I want to have those on the table too, to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves now, so that when the time comes to purchase that, we'd be like, oh crap, we don't have the money for that.
And then the last thing that I have, is the brush. Charlie and I had a discussion on that today, and we came to the agreement, I guess, that he'll write him a warning letter, and we're going to go pick it up. Taking the truck around is a great idea, but it's a pain in the keister for me. We took it out maybe 3-4 times. We had good success down on Elm Street. That was the best. I don't know if the guys got it back down there tonight. They were
Yeah, he's
supposed to.
filled it up, he's cleaned the pile up.
Okay, so that worked out good. But there's, on the list today, 20,
There's 30.
was it 30?
Wow.
30
But-
piles.
Well, and realistically, when you look at over 2,000 buildings in town, 30 is nothing. It's not even 1%. Not even 1/10 of 1%. So it's a very
Just
small.
stop to think of it that way, but
So it's a small.
for the whole month though,
It's a lot. The problem I have is when we go back out, people are going to see that, and they're going to think, oh, time
Well,
to
how
brush
much of it
out.
is brush damage?
How did I miss it? I'm
How
going
much
to get
of it is
calls, well,
storm
I
damage?
missed it?
You know,
It's
So,
going to happen.
I agree with Pete. Pete was on Charlie about writing tickets. I think I'm going to log them in myself. Charlie's logging them in. They get one warning, and the next time they get a ticket.
Well,
End of story.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Well, again, I'm going to, for the homeowner, you do not want to beat up the people who are cleaning their properties, because I'll be honest with you, I'd rather see 300 people on this list, because that's 300 people that take interest in their property. It's sad there's only 30 from my take, okay? I'd love to see 300 people, because that's pride in homeownership. These 30 folks, yes, 3 strikes and you're out is my theory on it, okay? And you'll be hard pressed on this list to find people that we've given warnings to before. New tenants move in, they think they're doing their landlord a favor, and they put a pile of brush behind the landlord's house. Okay? Woman up on Leonard Street called me today and say, hey, you know what? Send me another letter like this, pick your own branches out of the road after a storm. I did you a favor. The tree that lost the branches is on your side of the sidewalk. So one, I'm cleaning up your branches, and I did you a favor that no one else drove over them, and you sent me a letter. Thank you for nothing. There's some valid concerns here. I think you get a person 2-3 times for sure that we have documented proof that we sent them, that there's a house on Chestnut that's not occupied, and another land owner up there in that neighborhood takes advantage of that to put it on the unoccupied home. Now that's a little.
I know exactly what you're talking
You know what I'm talking about. Now, highly likely that the owner of the house that the brush is coming from, he's not doing that brush himself. He's got an assistant who's doing that for him. So I send a letter to the homeowner, he reads it, he's like, well, I'm not doing that. The assistant still puts it out there the next time. Okay, so there's a lot of little caveats that go into this. At the point that we know for sure, we have told the person, twice, preferably 3 times, 3 strikes and you're out. Here's the documentation that I know you're responsible for this pile of brush, and I've now told you, you're out of luck. Here's your ticket. I've got no problem with that. But we're going to be hard pressed, to go down through this list. And what we've got right now is a lot of these piles that are out there are basically fork piles. 3, 4, 5, 6 scoops of the fork, and they're gone. To put the truck out there, the time it takes to tell the homeowner, hey, we're putting the truck out there because you load it up tonight or tomorrow night, and da-da-da-da-da, and have a 15, 20-minute conversation about that and everything else that when you go door to door, you end up having a conversation with. It takes half the amount of time just to pick the brush up and drive away. But the risk you run into is when you're out there picking up brush, it advertises to the 4 houses around the one you're picking up, oh, they must be picking up brush again. So you got to be real careful about doing it and how you do it. There are places that put out a lot of brush. For example, down on Elm Street, there was a house that put out new homeowners, just moved in there, want to clean up their property, didn't realize this all existed. Now they know. And we parked the truck there, and now they had the burden of putting a huge pile of brush for 2 nights on that truck. I can tell you the chances of them being a brush violator in August is slim to none. Because they loaded that truck huge 2 nights in a row now. But that's on them. They did that. They met us halfway. We parked the truck. They loaded the brush. Most of these piles are, like I say, 3, 4, 5 scoops of the shovel or fork, and you're out of there. So,
Well, what about the ones that aren't storm damage?
There's some that you can tell, some you can't tell. Some people are just, we just had new tenants move in down on Franklin Street. Now they've been updated on the rule. I would assume in August they'll be like everybody else that has been updated on the rule over the last couple of years. They won't have that same problem. So
We just been, the thing is with this has been going on for
But going-
ever and ever and ever and
But
ever.
you're gonna
At
have
what
that-
point in time do people realize that this is the...
as soon as the population is
Yeah.
stagnant, as soon as you have no new tenants, no new homeowners,
I just know what it goes into it, preparing the paperwork, and as the officer, it's a pain in the freaking ass.
Yep. Yep.
I
drive around town, 75 streets.
And you did it again, here's
Well,
your
that's-
letter. And you did it again,
that's
here's
not
your
happening.
letter.
That's not happening. That's not happening.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and I would agree if that was happening.
You
but
know,
that's not happening.
I agree that the fact that we keep sending them a letter, send them a letter. I can't see it.
Well, who you send a letter to? If you're sending a letter to Charlie Perkins 3 times, you got an issue. If you're sending Charlie Perkins a letter once, and then you're sending it to Charlie Perkins' neighbor and Charlie Perkins' other neighbor, Charlie Perkins hasn't got a problem. Neither do their neighbors. They're now aware. They're educated. Voluntary compliance is the bottom line of law enforcement. Now you have a repeat offender, different story. Now you do, like we talked about earlier, now you have an issue, you have to deal with it according to the law. But it's like speeding tickets. How many people get pulled over and get warnings and let go? More than get tickets. Way more than get tickets. But now you pull the same guy over in a month. Now you're starting to have some reservations about it, and he may very well drive away with a speeding ticket.
Well, it's an issue that's never, in my opinion, it's never going to go away.
It's never going to be.
We're never going to resolve that.
It's never going to be because you have a rotating population. You have new tenants, you have new homeowners, and now they have to come up to speed. You have a stagnant population, which none of us want, then it fixes everything. But over the course of 25 years, the town will be vacant with a stagnant population. I mean, not 25, 50 maybe.
I hope to make another 25.
I don't know about me.
You hope to make it out of time and stay in this town?
Out of curiosity, when I have 5 minutes, and maybe I can take 5 before between now and next Wednesday, I'll take the last 3 years worth of tracking that we've done on this, and I'll run down through how many are repetitive, just so we can say we did, because I'd be hard pressed to believe if I didn't come up with a half dozen. That's more than even twice. The half dozen will probably be maybe twice.
Well, I just think, my thing is not so much the tenants as it is the landowners of the apartment houses. When I rent the apartment out of my house, I tell the guy, this is when the garbage nights are. You got to have a garbage can. You got to have a top on it. That's when you put it out. You put it out the night before, and by the next day, when you go to bed, it better be in the garage.
Right.
No loud music, whatever. I don't want to see the police car coming in the driveway. Not even if the cop is looking for directions, I don't want to see him in the driveway.
You also probably tell
Don't
them
be
the
putting any brush out there either.
You probably also tell them the rent's due. But we go down there and watch court every session and find out how many people are getting evicted for not paying the rent. So, you know, if
I
I'm
mean, what I'm
paying the
saying
rent,
is,
you
the
don't have
plan,
to worry about the
it just, I don't know, it's just a circle.
It is.
It's a continuous
Circle
circle.
of life.
It's a,
Oh,
it's a,
Scott, how long do you put into picking up brush when it's brush pickup time? Do you have the guys out for a full week? Does it take you a full week? Can you have it done in
Depends.
2 or 3
It
days?
should take us probably about a week. Depends on, you know,
And what months do
The
we
next
actually
month
pull
won't be
brush?
bad.
Even months.
Even
Even
months.
months.
Even months.
But that would include October when we pick up brush in October. We're doing leaves probably.
we still do brush. I mean, it's kind of
December.
goes into one.
And
December is very light.
February's light.
That's very
Can we take them too and throw them 2 months into the summer? And
And say no, because there's a
No.
lot of stuff you can put out in the winter. to be
No,
honest with you.
even months. Even months. That's why change.
Putting X out there. What's wrong with
and when
And we throw in an extra one actually, Danny, around.
Right.
Was it not?
Dogwood.
Dogwood.
it? Use a lot of money, no.
And all these other pickups are almost throwing in an extra one there too.
We've never picked up brush in front of my house, not once.
So, no, I agree.
I started taking advantage of it.
I did this year. I usually take it up to.
No, they
Let's
never
see
pick
if
up
we
his
can get
leaves.
out of here by 11 o'clock.
I like it here.
No, seriously. Let's come to some decision on the brush pickup. What do we want to do?
I gave my spiel.
I think we follow the process we've been following, and at the point in time that people become, you know, I like 3 strikes and you're out. 2 might be good.
Well, once you come back with us with those have been multiple
See how many there really
offenders,
See what-
and let's keep a list and you know see where we're at in another month or so.
You
And
have them tracked year by year. So there's no problem.
okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
What else do we have after the brush? Anything else, Scott? Okay, while we're on water and sewer, some comments that provided by the mayor. Relative to the school water metering, he thinks that everybody should be treated equally, and he would be in agreement that they should have a meter.
What do we do? Because we have the same issue right now. They're using water down at the fields. They have forever, like the softball fields, Holbert.
Hober Waters has turned the water on for hours and hours, and sometimes days. Where at the softball fields, it's put on just to kind of hold the dirt down. And it's not the amount of gallons at the softball field is not even close. I wouldn't even say it'd be a hundredth of what Hober will run through the baseball park. But I haven't seen the meter running or the thing running this year much on the baseball.
Well, it's been raining, so.
Yeah.
But I just unlock it for those guys, you know. So how do you be fair to everybody? It's going to be hard to put meters on those. Very hard.
Well, what I'd like to do this evening is just share with you at least his thoughts, and then we can discuss it further. So, be thinking about it. Let's talk about next time we get together and see where we're at that point. But we had started the discussion a while back, and
I just wonder if we couldn't. I mean, they pretty much know how much they water the football field. Why we couldn't come up with some kind of a flat fee or whatever instead of lugging out a meter that's this big.
Once you make it a flat fee, they'll water 10 times.
But they can water anytime they want now. It doesn't cost them anything.
yeah, and I think again the idea is that treat everybody equally.
Well, it's going to be hard with all these little spigots that are around everywhere.
Yeah.
That's going to be
Well,
hard.
we'll have to factor that in. I mean,
And then I look at it, they are in our parks, it is our community.
mhm.
And I can vouch for them. I wouldn't want to slide on a rock solid baseball field.
Right.
They do need a little water. It's dusty.
It already did kill us.
I think it just comes down to the fact that when you see the spigot running for 2 days straight down there,
Yeah.
when it is dry. And this year it hasn't been that way because it's been wet.
Right.
But we've seen this. Charlie, you've seen it. That spigot run for 3 days in a row. And you think, jeepers, that's a lot of water that's going out in that field.
That's a drop in the bucket what's leaking in the ground.
But it all
I
adds
mean,
up.
if you look, I'm not saying that's the way to look at it, but there's half of our water is just boiling in the ground as we all sit here. Just,
Yeah.
We were up to 750,000 gallons in a day a couple weeks ago. And we have no idea where it went. But then it dropped almost 100,000 gallons. It went up like 100 and went back down 100. No idea where that was. No way to track it. I'm just saying, keep that in the back of your mind. What little bit of water they use is really a drop in the bucket. What's being leaked.
Yeah, but then you'd have to apply that to every residence, wouldn't you? My water's metered.
I understand, but you're talking the school and you're talking the parks too.
I pay school taxes like everybody
I
else.
understand. I totally understand. But I'm saying,
I pay my fair share. Why shouldn't they?
but the park is ours, so that's what you got. That's what I'm saying.
Yep, I
The park
understand.
is ours.
I understand
The
it's
school is the
ours,
school.
but you know, who's using it?
Hey,
We'll
turn the water
continue.
off in there at that Hober's Field and don't water it then. I mean, he's the one that puts it out there so it can be little Yankee Stadium. He does a good job with it. It's a beautiful field. It's one of the best ones around.
So that's the other issue too. Is
20 years ago, you could run water all day and not be worried about it, about the cost. Today, that's not the case. You need to be thinking conservation today. You just can't leave a spigot on and come back tomorrow. And if you're not in that mindset, well, we ought to help you get in that mindset.
I saw one of my neighbors, and I thought about the water bills and stuff. It's like in your heat bill in the wintertime. You keep your thermostat at a certain temperature because you don't want to pay the,
Right.
So, but I looked out, Grace and I took a walk today, and one of our neighbors was out watering his lawn. And it's like, what the? It just rained for the past 100
My neighbor?
days, huh?
My neighbor?
Well, right across the street.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, take pride in your property, but then there's yeah, he's paying for it, but maybe less people, you're going to find less people doing that.
Yeah.
And wasting water, and washing your car and then dumping it down the storm drain, and does that too.
Some more for you, Scott. Where do we stand on the Knox Adams Quay infrastructure grant application? It says MRB is going to contact Toma. I contacted Bernie this past week. He hadn't heard from MRB.
And that's when Toma replied that he didn't think we would be eligible for the grant.
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
Okay.
And I can actually provide you a copy of that email for the next. I'll bring it to.
As long as the mayor has a copy here, Okay. We did receive a email regarding the composting grant update. Do you want to say anything on that?
I say we get all we can this year.
Yeah.
Oh,
It looks like we received an extension.
Right?
And also, the other thing I saw is that the DEC requires all contractors over 100,000 to be on their vendor responsibility list.
That's up to MRB. Hopefully they are.
Well, I hope that they're
Because the work's done.
taking care of that because that's a requirement.
Yeah.
So,
Get them to get dinged for
can
that.
can
Maybe we should check it again.
somebody needs to check with MRB to make sure that they didn't read over that.
Well, they could pay the penalty on that.
Says we would recommend doing this prior to closing out the contracts. This says this would count also for the loader and dump truck vendors, Scott. If you could send over the invoice / quote, I could pass that on. Anyways, okay. D'Amico payments, any additional information here from Scott or Megan on how that turned out?
I did the checks per the resolutions
Okay.
that the board did. That's it.
Okay, that's good. Short and sweet, that's good.
Yep.
Thank you. You have more?
I have one question.
Yep.
It's kind of directed at two people, Scott or Megan. Did the softball leagues pay their share of the light?
No.
Did they pay all of what they owed for last year?
They paid that up front last year.
Yep.
Well, I heard they were short last year, $500.
No,
I don't
they
recall
paid
that.
right up front. They wrote the check that night.
Yeah, they paid.
But we have not been paid this year, correct?
That's correct. And I think I found an email for Julie earlier today.
It was also brought to my attention that last year when they advised the number of teams, they shorted 2 teams.
You mean they shorted them as,
They told you there was only 10 teams in the
There was
co-ed
12.
league and there's 12. So we were shorted $400 on
How
that.
would we know that?
I will get you that information from here on out because
Okay.
but co-ed runs with 12 teams and the men's league can fluctuate between 6 and 10. Usually run with 8. But that's 20 teams, it's $4,000. And if we haven't been paid, men's league is over with now. Their money has been collected. Co-ed leagues are in the process. And I know they're going to run a charity tournament down there. Now, I had the information on the charity tournament, and I don't know if it's an all-night tournament or what it is, but they're going to utilize those fields. She's been paid $350 by each team, and then we should be paid. Men's league is almost, I think it's coming down to the end. So I don't know how they get.
she said that night to me, she'd bring the check right down,
Yeah,
so I
right.
figured she did.
Yep.
If it ain't going to get paid, then I think the leagues get shut down.
Right.
And I expressed
Who's
that
in
the
the
other
best
day.
position to follow up on that?
Leave the
What's
lights
that?
up.
Who's in best position?
I'm the Parks and Recs guy. I'll follow up on that. Unless you contacted Julie to ask where the check is for in full. And there's 12 teams that we were shorted, and let her know that we found out that last year they paid for 10 co-ed teams, and there was 12 co-ed teams. That's it.
Like a shooter
And
needs
that's
to.
$400. They're down there running them lights.
agree.
We pay for some of that. They don't. It doesn't. Their bill doesn't cover all of it. Correct, Scott?
No.
So to short us is to almost slap you in the face.
Yeah.
And when I hear this stuff, it pisses me off because we had the meeting the first time when we sat down in here probably 3 years ago. And there's a lot more going on, but I know that the youth league has been shorted money from some of these leagues as well. And so if they're getting in some sort of a situation where they're not paying their bills,
Yeah, especially if they're collecting.
That's what I'm saying.
they're collecting $350 a team because it's $200 a team towards the light bill and the $150. I mean, they give away a little whatever they do with their money. I don't really care, but the light bill should be paid. And I know how many teams there are down there because I was in charge of that league for a long time. There's
You
12.
have Julie's number?
I think I found her email address.
You want her number?
I'm sure I could come up with her number.
Hurry up, we only got 10 minutes.
Hang on.
Okay, here we go.
Order 750-6778.
67.
78.
Okay,
But
I'll do that.
let her know that we did get information that last year we were shorted $400. We would like that added back on because they collected that money from the teams.
I made a note. I will ask her about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Rittenhouse.
You're welcome.
Did you get any additional estimates for the retaining wall and the steps next to St. Peter's?
I was promised one today, but it didn't arrive.
Okay.
I should have it. I'll definitely have it when Pete gets back the second. I still need one more.
Okay.
Waiting for Ramsey for that one.
Okay. We got additional signs over here. Scott,
More?
4 signs. These are not the same as what you put up, but it's got the similar theme.
Okay.
I will tell you, I was walking with my daughters. We were walking in the front, not from the road, into the front of Babcock Park, and my daughters noticed a smoke-free sign that was on the entrance.
We walked through there, in the rain the other night, and we saw
There's another one.
Yes,
Caught
and my
your
daughters,
attention right there.
my daughters, who are 14 and 12, picked up. They said, "This is a smoke-free park, Dad." So I mean,
How did you explain that one?
well, I did. I explained it to them the right way, but if a kid can see it, the adults should be seeing it. At least the ones coming in on foot. But my daughter said, "No, I didn't realize this was a smoke-free park."
What we
So
need
like
to,
ones that won't
what
see
we
it
need
is
to do is
smoker.
keep track of them. That they're being destroyed.
Ignorant people.
You know, I mean,
But I just commend the fact that they went up and
yeah.
a young
Yeah.
child was able to notice
Yeah.
the fact, and I didn't point it out. I seen the sign, but my daughter pointed it out. So thanks for putting that up. Someone's seen it.
Okay, Toma said we don't qualify for the FEMA mitigation pre-disaster grant. You saw that, Scott. The mayor wanted you to talk with Kevin, and the reason why is that he's thinking maybe he misunderstood him when he spoke to him at the dinner, and maybe he's supposed to run the application through his office.
Well, you're talking about the flooding now.
Yeah, yep, the mitigation and
He was supposed
pre-disaster
to
grant.
send us an application to Megan. I don't think he ever did. He didn't say
Check.
anything then. I'll call Kevin.
Call
back.
Kevin and see if that was supposed to go through his office. I mean, yeah. I mean, I saw the email about we didn't qualify for it.
Well, that's the other grant. That's the Knox Street, correct? You're talking-
No, I'm talking about the mitigation one.
Pre-flood
For
mitigation.
the flood.
Right.
Disaster
How could we
mitigation.
be denied if we haven't applied?
I'm thinking the mayor must have emailed Toma. I'm not sure. That's
Oh.
what it sounds like.
Oh, maybe, okay. I need a copy.
Here you go, Scott. You can keep that. Okay, 48 Pine Street. Megan, any info on the grant?
For 48 Pine Street?
Yeah,
I don't have anything for you now.
I think it was a grant, if we could get it to have it demolished. I think that was.
I think we were looking for a price to see what it was going to cost.
I
Yeah, we
know,
went.
I know that there were several emails, but I'm not sure. Should I be doing something with that?
Well, let's wait till the mayor returns.
Okay.
I know.
Talk with him how that.
But I think that tax auction's July 23rd,
Yeah, you've only got like,
and we need. And I think our next meeting is July 20. That's that week because that's the week I'm on vacation, between the 18th and the 25th. So I mean, we're going to be time crunched to buy that house if the village decides that.
yeah, you got to decide it before the auction.
Scott, did you look into what it would cost to tear that house down?
Basically dumpsters, if we could buy it, and then I could arrange it to do it at the same time as we're in the creek, because we're gonna have an excavator here with thumb on it, so we wouldn't have any cost for the excavator. The biggest concern I have is how much junk's inside. I don't know how many dumpsters is, a house that size, 4 dumpsters, 40 yardage usually.
But the problem is the
Yeah.
house
There's-
is full.
it's full, yeah.
We're looking at like 10 40
So if
yarders.
you go with
So much
10,
that.
you can do
Huh?
6 to 8 grand probably.
Just let them sell.
Plus the cost of the house, you're into 10 grand.
The thing is though, we've already put probably that in attorney's fees dealing with
Yeah.
the owner that just lost it.
Well,
We don't want to start all over again. I really don't think
I
we
had
want to.
Zelly, who's over there on Red Jack. With their trucks, so.
What did he charge you, remember? I haven't. It's gonna be $600 anyhow, a dumpster, is minimum.
Yeah.
I got that covered. That was the flood mitigation grant.
Okay.
You had to combine in an email.
Oh, okay.
Okay. With the 48 Pine. We're all set on that.
Okay.
We get it tore down, we sell it as a buildable block. It's a buildable block.
What's the cost of the house to buy it now?
5,000.
It'll never sell.
There's no value in the lot. There's no value in that lot.
No value at all. You wouldn't get your $5,000 back out of it.
No, you wouldn't get your $5,000 back out of it.
You'd probably have to pay the neighbor's closing costs to split it 50-50 between them for them to take it off your hands.
Should go up and approach him and ask him.
Yeah.
One's that Dan Bishop, right? He lives on one side.
No, Dan Bishop lives up on the corner.
He lives on
Yeah,
that one more.
No,
He lives right on the corner. And there's a couple houses in between.
yeah, there's the,
Oldfield's old house, whichever one they remember they lived there.
Yeah.
That's your-
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure who lives on the other side, but it's not next door to Bishop.
Dan, do you have anything else for DPW?
Golo's apartment house is
I have
on one
none.
side and it's an owner occupied on the other.
Well, they're supposed to, because we still got 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay, technology, codification, Megan, the mayor would like you to check with general code.
Okay.
for an updated price or cost.
Okay.
And with that said, we'll open it up for anything you want to talk about.
Well, so what's the thought from the board on buying the house and tearing it down? Yes or no?
Yeah.
I think we had previously agreed that
Yeah.
that's the approach we wanted to
Is
take.
it in the budget?
I was just gonna say, where's the money coming
Line
from?
item.
Which line item?
It'll make
That'll
us
be the
money.
mayor's discretionary fund.
It'll make us money.
I don't think he has enough.
So is that the way we want to
tell
go? Or do we want to let it go to auction? Because there will be some ass, forgive my language, that buys it for $15,000. You know.
If we want to get rid of it, then we got to buy
Sit on it for
it.
another
Yeah.
3
If
years.
we want to get rid of it, the right approach is to
Yeah.
buy it.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's up to the board to decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'd like to buy 117 Main Street. We're buying houses.
Tear that down.
117 Main Street's going to cost us way more than 48 per
Yeah.
item, though.
Yeah.
I understand. But 117 Main Street is a hell of a lot more of a problem to this village than 40. I'm not really going that direction, but 117 Main Street's a bigger problem
Well-
than 48 Bryant.
I think let's get Brian out of the way first, and then we'll work on the next hurdle.
117 is a big, high star to shoot for. They're also selling 20. It's just as bad.
It'd be nice to have a pretty locked down figure of within $1,000 or $2,000 bucks of what this whole project on Prime Street's gonna cost us, and then sit down and figure out where we're gonna get the money from in the line items and do it, and stay within the budget. You know, whether we can pull all that together before next Tuesday to come up with that theory or not, I don't know.
You can tell me how many dumpsters will take the stuff in there, Charlie. I'll tell you exactly what it's gonna cost. I don't know how you're gonna do that. That thing's full.
I'd probably, to be on the safe side, I'd probably say whatever you think is a competent for taking the structure down, and I'd double it for the contents. And then you probably should be safe.
And then who's gonna go in there and dump it off and get it all out of there? I mean,
No, you take out the.
No, you're taking it out with an excavator right
I
in
like
the
to
club.
think it's gonna get it. Okay.
We take out board by board.
Four 30 yards?
How many?
4?
30 yards?
Don't think so.
Took 2 30 yards, just get rid of the dog pound down to the weak spire tree.
Really?
I crunched it up really good. 30s iron. It'd be nice if he could get the 120 yard out of Roselli. He's got a truck, but I don't think there's room to get it in there. Because then it's cheaper.
Yeah.
You shut the street down, park right there in the middle of the street.
Can we do that? It's a state highway.
Yeah, we can do a lot of things.
Well,
Yes,
give it some
I-
thought, and I'm sure either on the 14th or when we meet again,
It's gone.
regular meeting, we can discuss it, but we need to make a decision soon.
I'll get a cost on, I'll call a bunch of the guys and see what
But I'm,
Yeah.
the dumpsters.
I'm thinking that if we want to act on it, then we ought to buy it.
Yeah, I agree.
From previous discussions that we've had
Yes,
about
we've
what's the
battled-
best
We've
approach.
battled this place for a long time.
Dick, for the meeting Tuesday night, you guys have advertised purchasing policy for the village.
Mhm.
You want me to take that out of our purchasing policy, out of our procurement? Is that what you're looking for that?
Just, I think, I don't know if Pete's going to cover that, if you're going to cover it, but it's simply just what our policy is. Period.
My understanding was procurement policy.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's it. No, just what the policy is.
Okay.
Just to put in front of people, that's all. That's where I was at when I had a discussion with Pete about it, or the mayor. Any other business?
We hired.
Okay, I'll make a motion to go
I'm not
into...
done.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation. I need a second to that motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Okay, it's approximately
I wasn't done yet.
10:59.
I don't think he heard. I don't think he heard.
He heard.